Goku's otherworldly journey starting from Naruto. Hello again, dear adventurers of the multiverse. Thanks for joining us once more on this epic journey. Remember, this story is pure science fiction from our wild imagination, so don't go trying to summon dragons in your backyard. The rights of this amazing novel belong entirely to its original author. We are only the narrators. Do you want more adventures? Show some love to our YouTube channel with a subscription and a like, and if you want exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting for you with open arms. Chapter 101 I want to destroy this ugly system. Who? Hanabi, you're so strong. I'll lose to you again. In the courtyard, Hinata, knocked down by Hanabi, sat on the ground, panting. Sister, get up quickly. The ground is dirty. Hanabi walked over to her and offered her a hand to help her up. Then, the two of them knelt before Hyuga Hayashi, ready to listen to their father's instructions. Hanabi, your basic skills have improved again. Very good. Hyuga Hayashi didn't comment on the eldest daughter Hinata first, but instead praised the younger one, Hanabi. Thank you, father, for the compliment. Hanabi will keep working hard. After responding to her father, Hanabi glanced at Hinata, slightly concerned about her sister's mood. Ever since she defeated her sister, the clan elders had often told them that she was more suited to shoulder the fate of the main family than her sister, a move that both pleased and worried her. She was happy that her efforts were recognized, but she was naturally concerned about her sister's emotional state. After all, they had a very close relationship. It seems that my sister is fine. Seeing Hinata's calm face, she breathed a sigh of relief. Elsewhere, after praising his youngest daughter, Hyuga Hayashi looked at his eldest daughter, whose lack of ambition had infuriated him. A stern expression settled on his face, as if he were about to reprimand her. But before he could speak, as if sensing something, he looked up toward the courtyard gate, his eyes fixed. Ninji, there's this person. Niji and Goku entered the courtyard, one after the other, and stopped in the courtyard. Master, I have something to discuss with you. Niji looked at Hyuga Hayashi calmly, leaving him completely unsure of his purpose. Hyuga Hayashi glanced at him, then at Goku, and waved his two daughters away, but Niji stopped him. Don't bother. What I want to talk about also concerns them. Huh? Hyuga Hayashi's eyes narrowed. Could it be related to Hinata Hanabi? Suppressing the suspicions that had arisen in his mind, he rose gracefully and calmly, then, with a smile Hinata had never seen before, addressed Goku. You must be Mr. Sun, right? My name is Hyuga Hayashi. I wasn't aware that Mr. Sun was visiting today, and I'm sorry for not welcoming you. Please come in and take a seat. He then gestured for Goku to follow him inside. Huh? Do you know me? Goku gazed at him puzzledly as he walked inside. Of course I do. During that recent battle, Mr. Sun's powerful demeanor truly impressed me. I've been meaning to invite Mr. Sun to our home for a while now, but I didn't expect Mr. Sun to show up in person before I could. I'm truly ashamed. Watching the usually stern man beaming as he welcomed Goku into the house, Niji was stunned. This scene was not what he had imagined. It was enough that the man knew Goku, but he was so warm to him, even to the point of being respectful. How could this be possible? You know, when he'd seen Might Guy before, he'd only smiled faintly, never taking him seriously. Why would he change his attitude when it came to Goku? Fortunately, he was always quick-witted and quickly realized that Hayashi Hyuga's words had revealed a lot. He quickly locked onto the words that battle and powerful presence. It seems Goku-sensei's strength is more than I imagined. He wasn't sure which battle he was referring to, but from the power, he could tell Goku was incredibly powerful, so powerful that even Hayashi Hyuga had to treat him with respect. No wonder Naruto and the others had those expressions. He recalled the reassurance Naruto and the others had shown when they'd seen Goku coming with him not long ago. It was clear they knew with Goku's strength around, he wouldn't be at a disadvantage. As he pondered this, he followed him into the house. Soon, the five people, including Hinata Hanabi, were seated. After exchanging pleasantries with Goku, Hyuga Hayashi didn't ask Niji what he wanted first, but instead began by testing Goku's intentions. I wonder if Mr. Sun has anything to ask me today? If so, please feel free to tell me. As the head of this family, I believe I can help Mr. Sun with many matters. Huh? Nothing, I just came with Niji, Goku said with a smile. With Niji? I haven't asked yet. What is your relationship with Niji? Hyuga Hayashi was puzzled. He hadn't heard of Niji's acquaintance with this man. Oh, he's my disciple. Hyuga Hayashi's pupils shrank slightly at this news. When did this happen, and how could he not know anything about it? Head of the family, there's no need to ask any more. Sensei Goku doesn't have anything to ask you about. It's me who's here today. After hearing this, Niji finally spoke. Well, if that's the case, then tell me. Hyuga Hayashi suppressed his shock and looked at Niji solemnly. After taking a deep, quiet breath, Niji looked at his opponent with a determined, unwavering gaze, and uttered words that shocked him. I want you to free everyone from their caged birds. I want to make sure the Hyuga clan no longer has a main or branch family. I want this ugly system to be completely eradicated. Boom. After such earth-shattering words, not only did Hyuga Hayashi pale, but Hinata and Hanabi, who were listening quietly nearby, also paled. Nijini, how dare he say such words to our father? Hinata nervously clutched the edge of her clothes, looking at her father with trepidation, fearing that her father would, in a rage, manipulate Niji's caged bird to punish him harshly. Hyuga Hayashi's face was serious and gloomy at this moment. The thought of using the caged bird to punish Niji did indeed cross his mind, but a glance at Goku beside him suppressed the thought. Niji, do you still harbor resentment for what happened back then? After a moment's silence, he stared at Niji and asked. Of course, that will never change, Niji calmly confirmed, then continued, but my desire to abolish this system has nothing to do with it. I want to abolish it because it's unjust and shouldn't exist in this world. On the way here, he asked himself, was he only asking for him to be freed from the caged bird? No, that shouldn't be the case. He wanted all the members of the clan who were caged to be free beings, unbound by a fixed fate. Then, the system of branch families in the main clan should be abolished, ensuring that future generations would also be freed from the shackles of caged birds. Thus, his purpose for coming here, unknowingly, evolved from caring only for himself to caring for everyone, for his descendants, a profound shift in perspective. Updates will be updated after midnight and at noon, unless otherwise necessary. Chapter 102 Wukong, try to touch my disciple. Is it an unreasonable system? After hearing Niji's reasoning, Hyuga Hayashi remained silent. In fact, even after his brother Hisashi's death, he had questioned the rationality of the main family's branch system and whether he could change it. However, due to its age-old nature and his fear that changing it would fracture the Hyuga clan and threaten his and his family's safety, he had weakly avoided the question. Only recently, with the issue of his two daughters' inheritance, had he been forced to reconsider the issue. But all he considered was whether he could spare any of his daughters the caged bird inscription. He hadn't considered allowing other members of the family who needed to be caged to do so as well, let alone removing them. After all, after so many years as head of the main family, he had already experienced the immense joy of power within this system. How could he ever want to dig its grave? Whether a system is legitimate or not isn't up to you or me, it's the testimony of history. Because of this system, our Hyuga clan has survived from the Warring States period to the present day, maintaining our current status. After a few seconds of silence, Hyuga Hayashi answered. Since he didn't want to be the gravedigger of the system, he could only side with its defense. Hell, a crappy system that restricts the growth of most of our clan. Without it, our Hyuga clan can survive. No, we should say, thrive? Niji's face was filled with sarcasm. With the engraving of the caged bird, he could deeply feel the constraints it placed on his strength. Not to mention the other effects, the mere presence of a blind spot in his Byakugan's vision would significantly reduce his strength. With this kind of thing in place, it's nearly impossible for the branch family to produce strong individuals. Haven't you seen that over the years? While the branch family has occasionally produced Jonin, has it ever produced an elite Jonin? Let alone one stronger than an elite Jonin? Hinata Hayashi didn't know how to respond. He knew that being a caged bird did indeed hinder one's growth, otherwise, those branch families, who were once gifted, wouldn't have reached the level of ordinary Jonin. It seems you're aware of this, but you refuse to change, and even caused my father's death. Seeing his silence, Niji's hidden hatred surfaced again, and his tone lost its previous calm. It's not what you think, Niji. Now that things have come to this, I'll tell you the truth. Hearing him mention Hisashi's death, Hinata Hayashi sighed and slowly recounted the events of that year. Niji was amused to learn that his father wasn't persecuted to death by the main family, but had volunteered to die in their place. So many years had passed, and who could possibly know the truth? I know you don't believe it, but it is the truth. If you have a chance, You can ask the third Hokage, he was a witness. Knowing Niji didn't believe him, Hinata Hayashi brought up Sarutobi Hiruzen. There's no point in pursuing this any further. Even if it's true, my father's death is an indisputable fact, I won't dwell on this matter anymore. Now I just want to eliminate this ugly system. After a few seconds of silence, Niji regained his composure and reiterated the purpose of his visit today. And I imagine you don't want to carve a caged bird on Hinata or Hanabi, do you? If you have that thought, why don't you try to change it? He brought up his opponent's weakness. It's not as simple as you think, Niji. After hearing his most pressing concerns repeatedly, Hyuga Hayashi's tone softened. Even as the head of the main family, I can't decide everything. I need the unanimous consent of the elders. Also, have you considered the consequences of eliminating the system? Have you considered the consequences of removing the caged bird? There were many branch members of the main family who held a grudge against the main family. If their caged bird was removed, there was a possibility of internal slaughter within the clan, something he absolutely could not accept. He also found it unacceptable that his Byakugan was being coveted by outsiders. Of course I've thought about it, Niji said firmly. Could you please invite the elders? I want to explain my thoughts to you all at once. Although he had only briefly considered it on the way here, it was only a rough idea. He knew today was a rare opportunity. The fact that Hyuga Hayashi was willing to discuss this with him was most likely due to Goku's presence, so he had to take this opportunity to tell him everything. After all, he couldn't just go back and think it over and ask Goku to come with him again. Regardless of Goku's willingness, he couldn't do such a thing himself. Seeing Niji's resolute expression, and glancing at Goku beside him, Hyuga Hayashi gritted his teeth, a fierce determination forming in his heart. Never mind, let this brat have his way today. Consider it my way of making amends for him. Thinking of this, he stood up and bowed slightly to Goku. I'm sorry, Mr. Sun, I have to excuse myself for a moment, huh? It's okay, Goku smiled nonchalantly. Creaking. After Hyuga Hayashi left, the room instantly fell silent. A moment later, Hinata weakly raised her head and looked at Niji cautiously. Ninjini, have you really thought this through? Nisi, who had been distracted for a moment, snapped back to his senses and looked at Hinata now. Somehow, the previous hatred had almost vanished. I've made up my mind. I want to be the initiator of institutional reform, even if it means sacrificing my life. Niji smiled, a rare smile. Though he spoke lightly, Hinata could clearly sense his determination and was deeply moved. Ninjini is like a completely different person than before. Should I be brave too? After much inner struggle, she finally looked at Niji with determination and said earnestly, Ninjini, I support you, sister. Hanabi looked at Hinata in astonishment, puzzled as to why she would stand against their father. Although she had begun to feel that the system was somewhat flawed, she hadn't considered disobeying her father. Niji was also somewhat surprised. In his impression, Hinata was an extremely weak young lady, not to mention rebellious, and even afraid to contradict others. But now, she had the audacity to say such outrageous words, even for a member of the main family, which changed his impression of her significantly. Thank you, Miss Hinata. About half an instant later, Hyuga Hayashi returned. Behind him were 4 elderly Hyuga elders. Hayashi, what on earth is going on that requires you to gather us all? It's dinner time, and I haven't even finished my meal yet, one of them shouted, his temper flaring. Elder Ho, please be patient. You'll find out soon, Hinata Hayashi said politely. Though he was the head of the clan, this elder held a higher rank. So even if the other person spoke a bit harshly, he had to greet him with a smile. Alright, Ho, calm down. We have guests, a seemingly friendly elder said to Elder Ho, noticing the unfamiliar figure in the room. With his reminder, Elder Ho, whose vision had been previously obstructed, finally calmed down and saw Goku sitting on the ground, looking at them curiously. Ahem, Hayashi, who is this? The lone female elder inquired, looking at Hinata Hayashi. These elders had always stayed within their clan, rarely leaving, even during the recent unrest in Konoha, and therefore, none of them knew who Goku was. Elder Yun, and all the elders, this is Mr. Sun Wukong, a man of immense power and Niji's teacher. After hearing Hyuga Hayashi's introduction, 3 elders' eyes flashed with subtle brilliance. Elder Ho sat down casually, looking across at Goku and saying, Mr. Sun, right? I'm Hyuga Ho, an elder of the Hyuga clan. Hello, Goku raised his hand and greeted him with a grin. Then the other three elders took their seats and introduced themselves to Goku. "Hello, Mr. Sun, I'm Hyuga Feng, I'm Hyuga Yun, I'm Hyuga Sora." Goku responded politely. "Hello everyone, haha." After the introductions, everyone quieted down, and Hyuga Hayashi looked at Niji and said, "Ninji, the people you requested are here. You may speak now." At that, all four elders turned their gazes towards Niji. Hisashi's son, a member of a branch family, what did he want to say that necessitated such a fuss from Hisashi? The four elders were bewildered. Ahem, Niji cleared his throat and then unpacked the more complete ideas he had formulated after Hyuga Hayashi left. This reform requires, therefore." Soon after, as he finished his thoughts, Elder Fire, unable to contain himself any longer, slammed his hand on the table. Bang! "How dare you? Who gives you the guts to say such a thing?" Every word Niji said touched a nerve. From overturning the system of division between the main and branch families to removing the caged bird curse from every one of these was unacceptable to a man as old-fashioned as he, loyal to the family system. "Hayashi, you called us here just to hear this nonsense? How did you manage to be the head of this family, allowing such a traitor to emerge within the clan?" After scolding Niji, he pointed at Hyuga Hayashi and unleashed a barrage of curses. As if still unsatisfied, he raised his finger and tried to activate Niji's caged bird seal. This evil creature should be punished, so he knows what he can and cannot say, but just as he was about to activate it, his body suddenly froze, unable to move, as if a switch had been flipped. Not only that, but sweat began to pour down his body. "What is this?" Hinata Hayashi and the other three elders' pupils shrank, sensing that some great terror had descended upon them. Although this great terror wasn't directed at them, it still made their hair stand on end and their hearts beat uncontrollably. Nearby, Hinata and Hanabi witnessed this strange scene and wondered, what had happened to their father and the elders? Chapter 103 3 years. Ho-Ho Fire Elder's face was filled with terror, as if a ferocious beast were staring at him. Furthermore, a terrifying aura weighed on him, freezing his body and making him unable to move. Even his mind and soul seemed to freeze. An indescribable amount of time passed, and just as he was almost gasping for breath, he suddenly felt the beast's gaze shift, and the oppressive aura dissipated. Who? He gasped for air, as if pulled from the water, his previous ferocious demeanor gone. After half a minute of catching his breath, he looked up and saw Goku across from him, his face etched with fear. This person? Who is this person? From the side, seeing Fire Elder like this, Hinata Hayashi's heart was filled with a deep sense of solemnity. Remember, Fire Elder was once a formidable Jonin, having fought in the battlefield with real weapons, slaying countless enemies. Such a person, having borne countless bloody battles, had long forged a steely will, refusing to flinch even when faced with an overwhelming foe. Yet, for such a person to be so utterly. But to his surprise, after closing his eyes and waiting for several seconds, he still felt no pain. Puzzled, he opened his eyes again, only to see Elder Fire gazing fearfully at Goku, and the other elders, looking as if they were facing a formidable enemy. He guessed Goku had attacked, but Goku's unwavering posture, still sitting beside him, made him wonder, if he had, how could there be no trace of his attack? Elder Feng, Elder Yun, Elder Kong, what do you think of Niji's intentions? Seeing the silence of the elders around him, Hayashi Hyuga steeled his nerves and spoke. With things having come to this point, he had no choice but to defend one side. Should he side with the elders and offend Son Goku, or side with Niji and offend the elders themselves? The answer was, of course, the second option, and only the second. Judging from the current situation, the four elders were clearly no match for Goku, and even the entire clan combined would likely be no match. A man of insight and wisdom should act accordingly. Moreover, after listening to Niji's ideas, he genuinely felt there was a slight possibility of achieving them. Even if their realization would significantly weaken his power, there was no other way now. After a few seconds of silence, Elder Sora, who had barely spoken before, spoke up. I don't think it's appropriate, putting aside other considerations. He mentioned the need for a leader, unrivaled in the clan's strength and supported by members of both families, to lead the reforms. I'd like to ask him, is there such a person in the clan today? Or, Hayashi, do you think you're worthy of this leadership? Reforming the system naturally requires a credible leader. And to convince others, overwhelming strength is essential. Furthermore, Given the long-standing conflict between the two families, the leader needs to be unhated and supported by both. Otherwise, even if the reforms are carried out forcefully, they will bring significant consequences. I don't think I'm worthy of this, Hinata Hayashi shook his head. While his current strength was considered the strongest in the clan, it wasn't significantly different from the others. And even more so, gaining support from both families was out of the question. As the head of the main family, he was hated by many of the branch families, so how could he possibly gain their support? So, Niji, do you think your idea has any chance of success? Seeing him shake his head, Elder Kong turned his gaze back to Niji. Niji gritted his teeth, unsure how to respond. Just then, a large hand reached out from the side and patted him on the head. Goku, seemingly having stopped thinking, smiled at him. Niji, since you're so determined, why don't you consider becoming the leader yourself? Goku spoke calmly, but the words resonated like thunder in his ears, somewhat deafening him. That's right, why wouldn't he consider becoming the leader himself? Besides him, who else in the clan shared his resolve? Thinking of this, he took a deep breath, looked across at Elder Kong and said firmly, Elder, I believe I can be this leader. Elder Kong, whose expression had already changed slightly at these words, sneered, You, Niji, although you are genius of the branch family, you are still a little behind the main family. How can you be this leader? Before Niji could reply, Hyuga Hayashi, as if determined, gritted his teeth and spoke first, Elder Kong, Niji might actually have a chance. We all underestimated his talent. I saw him learn the Kaiten technique on his own before, without any guidance. And, Niji, did you also learn the 8 trigram 64 palms on your own? He thought of the opening move Niji had performed during the Chunin exams. Although he hadn't used the subsequent moves because he was defeated by Rock Lee, he had a hunch that it was the 8 trigram 64 palms, which could only be learned by the main family. What? There's such a thing. The 4 elders were all shocked. Niji nodded gently. Yes, I realized it myself. Even so, you're just a child now. It'll take ages for you to reach the same level of strength as Hayashi, let alone surpass him. Yes. And Hanabi is also very talented. You might not even be able to match her then. That's right. You'd better stop dreaming about such useless things. Instead, focus on practical things. The 3 elders, except for the Fire Elder, tried to persuade Niji to give up the idea. They resorted to this soft persuasion because of Goku's previous intimidation. After all, none of them wanted to end up in the same predicament as the Fire Elder. 3 years, a sudden voice interrupted them. Goku glanced at everyone, then smiled at Niji. You're my disciple. 3 years? I think you can do it. 3 years, Niji's heart tightened. At his current rate of growth, he felt that 3 years was almost impossible. However, after seeing Wukong's confident look in his eyes, he felt his body filled with strength and nodded heavily. 3 years. In 3 years, my strength will definitely surpass that of the head of the family. No, I should say that I will definitely surpass everyone in the clan. Chapter 104 Everyone's Promise. Goku prepares to travel around the ninja world. After Goku helped Niji make the 3-year agreement, the 4 elders all acquiesced, but what they were thinking in their hearts was unknown. And Niji never mentioned removing the caged bird from him again, because only by keeping the caged bird mark on him could he always remind himself of the magnitude of his mission. Moreover, in addition to being the strongest within and outside the clan, he also needed to be supported by both families. Not to mention the main family, if he wanted to have the support of the numerous branch families, he had to keep the mark. Otherwise, if it was accidentally exposed one day, wouldn't he become a member of the main family hated by the branch families? But what he didn't know was that although his mark was still there, the main family could no longer control it to punish him. Because when Goku slapped him on the head, Goku had asked Shenlong to remove this control for him. Goku-sensei, do you think I can really achieve this in 3 years? After being treated to dinner hosted by Hyuga Hayashi, Goku, sated with food and wine, said goodbye to the stunned crowd and went shopping with Niji on the street to digest the food. Niji took the opportunity to raise a question. He had agreed on impulse, but the more he thought about it, the more unlikely it seemed. If he were to reach the same level of strength as Hyuga Hayashi in 3 years, he felt he could barely do it. But to surpass him by a wide margin, he felt it was a bit unrealistic. After all, Hyuga Hayashi was already an elite Chunin, and to surpass him by a wide margin, one would have to be at least at the level of a cage. Haha, Actually, I was going to say 2 years. He was just about to hear Goku's answer, but unexpectedly, Goku said something even more unbelievable. Goku, hands clasped behind his head, smiled leisurely. In 2 years at most, your strength will far surpass theirs. As for why I said 3 years, it's because if you want your people to trust and support you, it will probably take quite a while. Degree Greek letter Omicron degree. Niji's mouth opened unconsciously, bewilderment evident in his little head. Is he really that powerful? How could he not know this? The next day, outside the village, at the spot where Naruto and his friends had once practiced Kamehameha. Seeing a mountain evaporate under Goku's Kamehameha, Niji shared the same expression as Naruto and his friends. Degree Cyrillic letter de degree. After a long pause, he managed a blushing, I understand, Goku-sensei. I will work hard and live up to your trust and cultivation. It must be said that Niji, in addition to his family's exceptional talent in taijutsu, also possessed a remarkable aptitude for ki cultivation. In just half a day, he not only mastered ki control but also could mimic the techniques of ki bullets, Taiyoken, aerial dance, and even Kamehameha, astonishing everyone. Looks like I'll soon have a formidable opponent, Naruto exclaimed with joy at Niji's display of talent. For him, the more opponents the better. Only then would he avoid loneliness and continue to improve, constantly enhancing his strength. When the day's training concluded, everyone leaned against a hillside, gazing at the blazing sunset in the distance, feeling incredibly happy. Let's make a pact, Naruto suddenly thought, scrambling to his feet and standing in front of the group, exclaiming. What pact? Everyone was puzzled. How about a formal duel once a year? Not the usual sparring, but a full-throated fight where we put all our strength into it, Naruto said with a wide, white grin. No. I refuse. Sakura shook her head without a second thought. Normally, sparring with these perverts made her feel like her body was about to fall apart. If they unleashed their full strength, she simply wouldn't be able to win. Yoshi. No problem. I'll definitely participate. Unlike Sakura, Rock Lee's eyes blazed with passion, his hands in support. How interesting. I accept your offer, Sasuke, whose warlike spirit rivaled Naruto's, readily agreed. And the proud Niji, of course, wouldn't back down, also nodding in agreement. What a vibrant group of young men. Kakashi, who had come to watch them train, saw this scene, and the corners of his mouth curled up beneath his mask. Goku, what are you thinking about? He glanced at Goku beside him, gazing into the distance, lost in thought, and asked. Well, I was thinking, I've been here all this time, and I haven't explored any other places. Kakashi, didn't you say you have 5 major ninja villages here? So far, I've only met people from your Konoha, but not from the other villages, Goku said with a chuckle, holding his head. Goku, aren't you thinking? Kakashi's eyes twitched, a thought coming to him. I'm thinking of exploring these places and sparring with someone. Even better if I could spar with their cage, snap. Kakashi slapped his forehead. As expected. Because Goku had been staying in Konoha so long, he'd almost forgotten Goku's initial claim that he was a traveler. And a traveler certainly doesn't stay in the same place all the time, otherwise, what's the point of traveling? What? Goku-sensei, you want to go to another ninja village to spar? Naruto, ever so perceptive, swooped over, looked at Goku excitedly, and said, Goku-sensei, I want to go too. I want to spar and exchange ideas. In his entire life, apart from a recent fight with the Sand Village guys, he had never sparred with anyone from another major ninja village. And Goku had told them that sparring more often, especially with different people, was the only way to constantly identify their weaknesses and improve their strength. Sure, Goku agreed with a grin. I'm going to. Sasuke signed up as well. Then I'll go too, but I'm not looking for a sparring match. I want to follow you and see the customs and people of other parts of the ninja world, Sakura said, raising her hand. She didn't really enjoy long journeys, but since Sasuke was going, how could she not come along? After the 3 of them signed up, they looked at Niji and Rock Lee. For some reason, Rock Lee didn't make the immediate decision. He had just agreed to the duel with Naruto. He was lost in thought. Seeing the 3 of them coming, Niji smiled and shook his head slightly. I'm not going. I need to stay within the clan. As he prepared to take on the leadership role, he needed to get to know each member of the clan well enough to slowly gain their trust. 3 years wasn't a long time, and he couldn't waste a single moment. He had to start now. Naruto and the others were silent upon hearing this. They had also heard about the agreement Niji had made with the clan leaders yesterday, so they knew they couldn't go with him. After Niji refused, Rock Lee, pretending to think things over, followed suit, saying, "I'm not going either." "Huh? Why?" "Thick eyebrows, that's not like you." Naruto frowned. "Well, I don't really like running around. I want to stay in the village and train." "Something's wrong." "Absolutely not." Naruto leaned in close, squinting at him. Rock Lee's eyes shivered at the look, but then he steeled himself and closed his eyes. "All right. I'll be honest. I want to stay and be Niji's rival. Without me, Niji will have a hard time finding a suitable opponent in the village." Upon hearing this, Niji looked at him seriously and said, "Lee, you don't have to be like that. Going out with Goku-sensei and the others will help you improve your strength, and I can train on my own. I've been doing it for years. Don't tell me, Niji. I've made up my mind. And I really don't like running around. I prefer to stay in one place and train." Rock Lee shook his head firmly. Seeing his determination, Niji shook his head and smiled wryly, not trying to dissuade him. And so it was settled. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura would accompany Goku on his journey through the ninja world. After they had confirmed everything, Kakashi signed up with a melancholy look on his face. "Ahem, I'll go with you too." He had no choice but to go. These people were so eager to pick a fight on someone else's territory. If he, a diplomat, was not there, who knows what kind of trouble would arise. Chapter 105 Leaving Konoha and Encountering Kimimaro. Because Niji was such a quick learner, Goku, who had originally planned to stay longer in Konoha to teach him, decided to leave the next day. After all, he had already taught Niji much, and since it would take time for him to digest, there was little point in him staying any longer. Furthermore, Rock Lee had decided to stay, and with someone so familiar with the practice of chi, Niji could consult him even if he had any questions. Even if he didn't plan to leave this trip, it wasn't like he wasn't planning on returning. After exploring the surrounding areas, he would return to Konoha. Then he could continue teaching Niji. A silent night followed. The next day, Naruto, having packed his bags, arrived early at Goku's door. "Goku-sensei, I'm ready." Inside, Goku, who was feasting on food, preparing to devour any remaining food, murmured, "Get it. Fill up and I'll roar." A moment later, having devoured all the food, Goku emerged empty-handed. He waved to Naruto and the newly arrived Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi, saying, "Good morning, good morning." Goku-sensei." After everyone responded, Naruto looked at Goku curiously. "Goku-sensei, aren't you ready yet?" "Huh? I'm ready." "Then where's your bag?" "Here, I don't think we'll need it," Goku said with a grin, rubbing his head. Traveling was a familiar experience for him. He'd traveled countless places with Bulma as a child, but back then, he'd never brought a bag, relying solely on Bulma's gear and whatever he'd gathered along the way. Naturally, he wouldn't be so careless as to steal other people's things again. But at the same time, he really didn't need to prepare anything right now. Oh, no, he did have some money. After all, sampling local delicacies still required payment, and he wouldn't do something like free dining. Naruto scratched his face, then let out a dumb laugh. Whatever, if Goku-sensei said no, then no. It wasn't a big deal. After confirming everyone was prepared, they quickly left the village. After they left, Sarutobi Hiruzen, in the Hokage's office, sighed leisurely. "I hope nothing serious will happen." Naturally, Kakashi would report this act of going on someone else's turf to the Hokage. That's right, just a report, not a request. After all, Goku was the one making the decision, so how could he, as the Hokage, approve it? And disapproving Naruto and the others would be pointless. And if they followed Goku around, how could he stop them? After witnessing Goku's strength firsthand, he didn't think he had the ability to do so. Moreover, after witnessing Naruto and his companions' rapid improvement in strength under Goku's training, he had already secretly planned to have them cling to Goku's lap. So, after careful consideration, not only did he not interfere, but he also wrote a document to be delivered to the cage of other ninja villages, telling Kakashi to take it with him, should he need it. "Alice, this is all I can do." If anything went wrong, he simply hoped the cage would calm down after reading this document. Otherwise, they might be the ones in trouble. Elsewhere, after leaving Konoha, "Goku, which country do you want to go to first?" Kakashi asked, watching Goku head straight in one direction after leaving the village. "Well, anyone will do," Goku said nonchalantly, and then pointed in the direction he was going. Are there any countries in this direction? Well, Kakashi quickly went over the map of the ninja world in his mind. And then came up with the answer: if you continue going this way, the first place you will arrive at should be the land of grass or the land of water trap. They are just small countries, and there are no powerful people in the ninja villages. Then after passing them, it is the land of earth, one of the 5 major countries. The strength of the Iwagakure village there cannot be underestimated, and it meets your goal of competing. After hearing his answer, Goku's eyes lit up. Aha! That's it. At this moment, Inoki, who was far away in the Iwagakure village and was diligently handling official business, suddenly felt an itch in his nose. Achoo, Grandpa, what's wrong with you? Do you have a cold? Kuratsuchi, who was helping him handle official business in the original work and was nicknamed Leg Shadow, said with concern. PFFT, Inoki blew his nose, then pinched his large red nose. With a puzzled expression, he said, No, Grandpa, I'm fine. I just had an itchy nose for some reason. Is that so? Otherwise, Grandpa, you should rest for a while. I can help you with the rest of the chores. Upon hearing this, Inoki's face lit up with relief. As expected of his good granddaughter, she not only cared for the elderly but also managed these complicated and tedious matters with a calm mind. Otherwise, the 4th Tsuchikage would be handed over to her from now on. He turned his attention back to Goku and the others. After they had leisurely walked out of the village for more than 10 minutes, Kakashi's eyes suddenly fixed. Whoosh! He suddenly dodged and stopped a ninja on his right who was about to pass them. Are you from the Kaguya clan? Looking at the distinctive young man before him, with white hair, green eyes, and 2 red dots on his eyebrows, he couldn't help but think of the Kaguya clan members he had encountered on the battlefield many years ago. They all looked the same. He then took another look at the man's attire and noticed the thick purple rope tied around his waist was identical to that of Orochimaru and his men. Could he be one of Orochimaru's men? He narrowed his eyes. With this sudden change in attitude, Goku, Naruto, and the others naturally stopped moving forward, instead coming to Kakashi's side to examine him curiously. What's this outfit? Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura also noticed the man's attire was identical to Orochimaru's, and their eyes tightened. A ninja from Konoha? The man didn't answer Kakashi's question, but instead asked back with a blank expression. And he was, surprisingly, Kimimaro, who had rushed from the Otagakure village to rescue Orochimaru after hearing the news about Kabuto Yakashi. Hey! What's your connection to Orochimaru? Naruto shouted, pointing at him. Huh? At Orochimaru's words, Kimimaro's eyes hardened, a cold murderous intent emanating from him. How can you call Lord Orochimaru by his name? Get out of my way. Under normal circumstances, he would have pulled out a bone blade and killed the other party without saying a word. But now, because he was in a hurry to save Orochimaru, he suppressed this impulse. After all, the other party had more people, and killing them would probably waste his time. But what he didn't know was that after seeing his reaction, Naruto and the others would not let him pass no matter what. Because Orochimaru is their enemy, I was drunk, and when I was typing, I found that there was a big cockroach on the curtains inexplicably. I didn't know where it came from, and there was no sound at all. Then I stood up and prepared to get the spray, and this thing flapped its wings and flew down, and went straight to me. Chapter 106 Naruto, Damn Sasuke. You're one of Orochimaru's men. Hearing the others reply, Kakashi immediately understood his identity. Since you're one of his men, and you're heading straight for Konoha, you're probably trying to rescue him, but I don't think you're enough. Although the other man was alone, Kakashi didn't think he could reach Konoha alone, so he challenged him. Get out of my way. However, Kimimaro ignored his probing and coldly repeated his previous words. Hey, since you're one of Orochimaru's men, we can't let you go. You know, we defeated 4 of Orochimaru's men a few days ago. I didn't expect to run into you again now, Naruto said with a grin. It would be fine if they didn't run into him, but if they did, they would definitely send him to Konoha prison to keep him company with his colleagues. After all, they were only less than a kilometer away from Konoha, so sending the prisoner back wouldn't be a problem. If that's the case, then you all die. Knowing Naruto and the others wouldn't give way, Kimimaro wasted no time. A white bone blade emerged from his left arm with a whistling sound, and he immediately pulled it out with his right hand. What the hell is this? Naruto and Sakura exclaimed in surprise. Could it be his own bones? Seeing this, Kakashi explained, he's indeed from the Kaguya clan. Those of this clan can extract their own bones and use them as weapons. Their power should not be underestimated. Hiss. Using their own bones as weapons? Goku gasped. He'd broken bones countless times before, and knew the pain of them all. But now, someone could actually extract their own bones, and it chilled him to the bone. Naruto was also amazed, but after that, a look of excitement crossed his face. This was exactly the opponent he'd been looking for. Such a unique opponent would surely bring him many new insights into battle. Thinking of this, he excitedly shouted at the other man, "Hey, you bastard, I'll be your opponent." He quickly dropped his load and prepared to advance, but someone was faster, whizzing past him and charging straight at Kimimaro. HMPH. His opponent is me, Sasuke exclaimed, his eyes also gleaming with excitement. What? Damn Sasuke. You shameless bastard. Naruto, furious, stopped in his tracks. If this were a critical situation, he would have ignored the martial arts etiquette of a one-on-one duel and simply charged forward in a two-on-one fight. But since it was clearly not a critical situation now, he wouldn't resort to such a tactic. He could only grit his teeth and stare at Sasuke's back, angrily giving up, swearing to himself, "Damn Sasuke. Just wait. Next time, I'll definitely steal your opponent too." Clang. As he swore, Sasuke engaged Kimimaro, their kunai clashing fiercely with the other's bone blade, a sharp clang of metal. This guy is truly extraordinary. From the moment they exchanged blows, Sasuke knew his opponent was no ordinary force. This was evident in his ki, which clearly surpassed that of Sakura, Yukin, and Jiraiya, whom he had previously faced. A smile curled his lips. This had proven to be a wise move, especially for Naruto. Swoosh. After the strike, he continued to hover around Kimimaro, attacking him periodically. Clang. 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 The sound of metal clashing continued. Kimimaro met his attacks with ease, not a single blow failing him. After a few exchanges, Kimimaro suddenly increased his speed, slashing the bone blade towards Sasuke, who was about to retreat. Sasuke's pupils shrank at this sudden attack, and without a second thought, he dodged, narrowly avoiding the blow. That was a close call. Sasuke watched helplessly as the bone blade passed mere centimeters from his nose, sweat breaking out on his face. This guy was even stronger than he'd expected. He no longer held back, instantly increasing his energy output. Wow! White flames instantly ignited from him. Kimimaro, observing this, remained unmoved, charging at him with a bone blade in hand. Clang. 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 Their figures continually clashed, sparks flickering between them with each encounter, evidence of the intensity of the collision. Crunch. Naruto, observing the fight from the sidelines, gnashed his teeth in anger. Such a good opponent, clearly his. After a dozen or so exchanges, Kimimaro suddenly stepped back, then raised his left hand, free of the bone blade, and pointed his fingers at Sasuke. What's he going to do? Sasuke's eyes narrowed in confusion. The next moment, he knew what he was up to. Kimimaro pointed his 5 fingers at him, and suddenly, with a whoosh, 5 glistening white phalanges shot out from his fingertips. Like bullets, they flew towards him in a flash, poised to pierce him like a sieve. What? Sasuke's pupils constricted, completely unprepared for such an attack. But thankfully, he had remained vigilant. Although the attack came unexpectedly, he swiftly dodged it. Puff. 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 After he dodged, the 5 phalanges shot straight into the woods behind, piercing through several trees in succession. What terrifying power! Sasuke shuddered. Even with this kind of power, even if he used his ki to defend himself, he'd likely suffer significant damage. Kakashi, standing beside him, had a serious expression on his face. This Hyuga clan member was different from the ones he'd seen before. Those he'd seen before could only extract the bones in the arm, but couldn't use anything else. Unbeknownst to him, Kimimaro possessed the rare Kekkei Genkai of the Shikatsu Ryu, within the Hyuga clan. This Kekkei Genkai allowed him to freely manipulate all bones in his body. Not only could he fire finger bones, but he could fire any bone at will. Furthermore, this Kekkei Genkai could control bone-forming cells. This meant his opponent wasn't afraid of being damaged by excessive bone extraction. After all, as long as he had sufficient chakra, he could continuously create new bones. Shikatsu Ryu, 10 fingers piercing bullets. On the field, after Sasuke dodged the previous finger bone attack, Kimimaro extended his fingers again, firing 10 fingers. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. This time, with twice as many fingers, Sasuke's evasive routes were nearly blocked. Sasuke's eyes focused, and he dodged some of the attacks while attempting to knock the others away with his kunai. Clang. 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 After dodging 7 of the fingers, he successfully knocked away the remaining 3 that couldn't be dodged. However, just when he successfully knocked him away, Kimimura's figure suddenly appeared in front of him and launched an extremely powerful physical technique at him, Corpse Vein, Tsubuki Dance. I miss you so much, how did those great gods do it? Crying. Chapter 107 The Terrible Kimimura. Swish, swish, swish. In an instant, the bone blades transformed into a swarm of afterimages, launching dozens of strikes at Sasuke in a short period of time. From the sidelines, it looked as if dozens of bone blades were simultaneously attacking Sasuke, leaving him bewildered as to how to defend himself. What a swift speed, Sakura, watching nearby, exclaimed. Attacks of that speed were difficult for her to dodge at her current level. In other words, if it were her, she would likely be injured. Fortunately, it wasn't her, but Sasuke. Sasuke didn't take the incredibly fast attacks head-on, but frantically evaded them. Over 2 months of intense training clearly demonstrated his physical fitness. Even with each strike swift as lightning, he reacted quickly, maneuvering his body to precisely avoid them. Whoosh! Although there were dozens of attacks, only a second elapsed. A second later, Kimimura stopped his combo, and Sasuke quickly withdrew. Your taijutsu is quite good, Kimimura said calmly, looking at him. Even as an enemy, he gave him credit. After all, few could withstand his taijutsu for so long without taking any damage. HMPH, you're not bad either, a bit stronger than your companions, Sasuke remarked. Unbeknownst to him, Kimimura's full potential hadn't yet been fully revealed. Previously, Taiyuai and the others had combined to attack Kimimura, but they hadn't been able to defeat him, instead completely defeating him. This proved that Kimimura possessed more than just a slight edge over his companions. Without another word, Kimimura casually tossed a bone blade in his hand. The next moment, puff, puff, puff. 8 arm-length bone spurs erupted from his palm, elbow, shoulder, and knee, giving him the appearance of a dangerous killing machine. Seeing this, Sasuke's expression grew even more serious. This guy was a true close combat killer. Corpse Vein, Dance of the Willow. As 8 bone spurs emerged, Kimimura swiftly reached Sasuke's front. Then, like willow catkins dancing in the wind, he unleashed a seamless taijutsu attack. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Faced with such a dangerous attack, Sasuke remained unable to withstand it head-on. He could only dodge repeatedly, seemingly dancing on the edge of a knife, a move that made one's heart flutter. As the saying goes, a long defense leads to a fall. During another evasion, he finally made a mistake, accidentally cutting his face. Though the cut was shallow, a thin stream of blood flowed. Sakura couldn't help but cover her mouth and exclaim in shock. Ever since Sasuke had learned powerful taijutsu from Goku, she had never seen him suffer such a loss at the hands of an outsider. Feeling the pain on his face, Sasuke didn't panic. Instead, he seized the opportunity to gather his energy and blasted it towards Kimimura, who was within arm's reach. Boom! The energy bullets exploded with pinpoint accuracy, forcing the opponent to cease his attack. He took the opportunity to quickly retreat. Not hurt, as he retreated, he stared at the opponent, surprised to see him emerge unscathed despite his direct hit. But his surprise was fleeting, and he dismissed it. He continued to condense several energy bullets in his hands, blasting them all at once. Boom, boom, boom. As the energy bullets exploded against his opponent, he increased the power of his energy and gave a fierce kick with both feet. Swoosh! His body shot towards his opponent like an arrow from a bow. The next moment, he appeared behind his opponent, raised his right foot, and kicked him in the back. Bang! The powerful blow sent Kimimura flying, sending him crashing into a tree. We've evened the match. Sasuke is worthy of you. Seeing Sasuke's sudden advantage, Sakura's worry turned to joy. However, Naruto, standing by, denied her. No, Sasuke's attacks have no effect on him. He had now put aside the thought of Sasuke stealing his opponent and was completely absorbed in watching the two fight. He noticed that Kimimura hadn't taken any damage from Sasuke's flurry of attacks. Sure enough, rising from the broken tree, Kimimura turned around and casually unbuttoned his already loose shirt, exposing his entire upper body. His body was completely free of any injuries. Tisk. extreme self-healing abilities. Sasuke, having already activated his Sharingan, could clearly see that the opponent wasn't uninjured, but rather that his injuries had healed in the blink of an eye, making it appear as if they weren't. He's quite a challenge, but that's what makes it fun. Realizing his opponent's difficulty, he showed no sign of retreat, but instead grew even more excited. Corpse Vein, Karamatsu Dance, puff puff puff. As Kimimaro unbuttoned his shirt, arc-shaped bone spurs emerged from his chest and back, encircling his entire upper body. The gleaming spurs seemed to warn the enemy, if you attempt a close-range attack, be prepared to be stabbed. With a swish. Once complete, Kimimaro charged at Sasuke again at breakneck speed. This time, Sasuke, knowing a close-quarters fight would be disastrous, immediately retreated. As he retreated, he placed his hands at his waist in the shape of a calyx. Kamempai Qigong Wave, whoosh! A blue ball of light formed from his palms, and as he thrust forward, it shot straight at the oncoming Kimimaro, trailing a meteor-like tail. Kimimaro's pupils shrank, and without a second thought, he brought his hands together in front of him, as if to block the attack. The next moment, the Kamehameha Qigong Wave crashed into him with unstoppable force. Boom! Under the immense force of this powerful energy, Kimimaro was like a stone caught in a torrent, being sent flying backwards. Bang! 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 After sending him dozens of meters back, knocking down tree after tree, Sasuke finally withdrew his Kamehameha Wave. Hell, even if you have the ability to heal, you'll be hurt by this blow from me. Sasuke curled his lips as he felt the other man's ki weaken. But the next second, his smile froze. What's this? He sensed that the man's ki, which had just receded, suddenly surged, not only returning to its previous state but even becoming even stronger. Damn it! How could I have forgotten this? It was then that he remembered that Sakuan, Yukin, and Jiraiya had both possessed strange power-boosting techniques. Previously, because Kimimaro's strength had surpassed those of the two who had gained power, he had subconsciously ignored the possibility that they possessed such techniques. Just as he was looking solemn, Kimimaro slowly stood up in the distance, his body covered with unpleasant black vein-like lines. Furthermore, a sinister aura spread out. You're so proud of yourself for pushing me to this point. Kimimaro looked up, a cold murderous intent on his face. After using this, he didn't have much time left. He had to deal with these people as soon as possible. Chapter 108 Sasuke, you are a little embarrassed. He was well aware of the severity of his condition. He'd been taking a steady supply of the special potion Orochimaru had prepared for him along the way, which had allowed him to reach the Hidden Sound Village at such a rapid pace. But now that the potion had run out, he could no longer slow down his deteriorating condition. Worse still, after the curse seal was activated, the deterioration would accelerate. If he couldn't quickly defeat his enemy in this state, he'd have only one way out, death. How could he possibly save Lord Orochimaru? With this thought, Kimimaro's expression darkened as he darted towards Sasuke in the distance. He had to finish him off as quickly as possible. Sasuke's in trouble now. The spectators saw this scene and thought Sasuke had hit a wall. No, he'd met a formidable foe. Naruto, however, watched intently, as if pondering something. He returned his gaze to the field. Whoosh! Halfway through his charge, Kimimaro's body underwent another transformation. The black markings on his body suddenly vanished, and his skin quickly turned a dark brown. Not only that, his back suddenly bulged, sprouting thick bone blades. A tail, pierced by sharp bones like thorns, also extended from the end of his spine. As this progressed, his spine suddenly shattered from his back. He then clenched his hands and yanked hard. With a bang, a 2-meter-long vertebral whip emerged. What? Sasuke's eyelids jumped at the sight. This bizarre fighting style was exactly like that of Orochimaru's men. With a whoosh, before he could even think, Kimimaro was already close, lashing out with a bone whip in his hand, a sharp, air-breaking sound. With a bang. As he leaped away, the whip lashed out at the tree behind him, splitting the tree, which was half a meter thick, in two. Clearly, a human being struck by this blow would likely break most of their bones. After his first strike failed, Kimimaro didn't hesitate, raising his bone whip and lashing out at Sasuke. Bang! 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 For a moment, the arena reverberated with thunderous clashes. Sasuke frantically dodged the whip, looking utterly defeated. I can't keep this up, he gritted his teeth as he dodged, knowing that if he continued dodging, he would inevitably make the same mistake as before. This time, If he were struck by the massive whip, he wouldn't just suffer a minor bruise. So, after dodging once, he leaped into the air, preparing to gain distance from his opponent and charge a more powerful Kamehameha wave to inflict a heavy blow. But before he'd reached 3 meters in the air, Kimimaro suddenly swung the whip at him. What's he going to do? Sasuke wondered. You have to remember that he was now over 3 meters away from the opponent. Given the length of the whip, it couldn't possibly hit him. So, was the opponent swinging it like that just to draw air? That was obviously impossible. His mind raced, and he prepared to increase his speed. No matter what schemes you have, as long as the distance is long enough, you can't hurt me. But at that moment, whoosh! The whip suddenly extended dramatically, extending beyond his body at lightning speed, then fiercely wrapped around his waist. Damn it, he shuddered, trying to dodge. But it came too quickly, and before he could evade, the whip had already entwined him tightly. It was incredibly strong, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break free. Dance of the wire flower. After wrapping around him, white bones rapidly emerged from Kimimaro's left hand. These bones quickly twisted in a spiral, quickly transforming into a massive, conical spear. This was his strongest, hardened bone, said to be able to break through any defense. Are you ready to die? Kimimaro ignored Sasuke's ability to hover in the air. After conjuring the spear, he swung his hand back, gathering strength, ready to pierce his opponent. But at this critical moment, a sudden, side-kicking kick caught him completely off guard. Bang! In an instant, he was sent flying by the powerful blow, and the bone whip wrapped around Sasuke also broke free. Hey, Sasuke, you're looking a bit shaky right now. It was none other than Naruto, who had been watching the fight from the side. He looked at Sasuke, who had fallen to the ground after being freed from the bone whip, with a playful expression. I let you steal my opponent before, and now you're done for. Without Naruto's help, you'd be dead, he thought smugly. Tisk, Sasuke turned his head away, feeling his face flush. After all, if Naruto hadn't helped him, he might have died from that blow. Seeing him like this, Naruto felt incredibly pleased, but he didn't try to provoke him again. Instead, he put away his smile and turned serious. This guy is truly formidable, Sasuke. It's my turn next. Sasuke was silent for a moment, but then he turned and said something cold yet caring. Be careful. Of course, Naruto grinned. In the distance, Kimimaro, sent flying by Naruto's kick, rose from the ground and coughed a few times. Cough. Cough. Blood trickled from the corners of his mouth as he coughed, whether from Naruto's injury or his own deteriorating health. Watching Sasuke leave the field and Naruto take over, his eyes flickered as he made a decision. Looks like it's time to unleash that move. Without hesitation, he leaned forward and placed his hands on the ground. Corpse vein, dance of the early ferns, boom. Suddenly, the ground shook, and countless bone spikes erupted from the ground. Their range encompassed an area of a mile, encompassing Naruto, who was preparing to engage him, and Goku and the others who were watching. Wow, Naruto, still baffled by his actions, saw bone spikes suddenly sprout from his feet. Startled, he leaped up and launched himself into the air with his aerial dance technique. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Sasuke, who wasn't far away, also noticed the situation and quickly jumped out of the way, dodging the spikes and taking off as well. Goku, watching the battle, grabbed Kakashi's arm and pulled him and Sakura into the air. They can actually fly. Seeing this, Kimimaro, who had expected to severely injure or even kill everyone with this attack, frowned. Although Sasuke had previously demonstrated flight, he had assumed it was a rare occurrence. He had never expected that anyone except Kakashi could actually fly. Ahem. Damn it. How can I kill them and save Orochimaru-sama like this? After using this move, his body had already deteriorated to the point of being riddled with wounds, and the rage that now overwhelmed him further deteriorated, causing him to spurt blood. Orochimaru-sama, it seems I'm not worthy of your subordinate. After the blood spurted out, his face paled visibly. He then looked towards Konoha and muttered a few words. The next moment, he was dead. It was all a fight, so why not just share it all together for the better viewing experience? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109 Kakashi doubts his talent. Phew. That was a close call. Naruto, soaring into the air, gazed at the dense mass of sharp bone spurs below and patted his chest with lingering fear. If he hadn't been able to fly, he'd have been strung together like a candied haw's fruit. That guy, he's truly terrifying. After calming himself, he thought of Kimimaro, the man who had unleashed the attack, and prepared to look towards him. But just then, his expression suddenly changed. Huh? This guy's ki disappeared. He sensed Kimimaro's ki plummeting like a free fall, dissipating in the blink of an eye. Is this guy dead? His gaze narrowed as he watched Kimimaro, motionless, his hands planted on the ground in the distance. He flew towards him. Besides him, everyone else who had sensed this also flew towards him. He's dead, Goku said gravely as he lowered Kakashi to the ground. How could that be? Sakura covered her mouth, awestruck. Even though the other man was their enemy, she wasn't happy to see him suddenly die. He probably suffered from some serious illness, and the previous battle accelerated its progression, especially that incredibly powerful move he just unleashed, which may have been the catalyst for his death, Kakashi concluded after examining him. Everyone was silent. Naruto, in particular, had never expected his enemy to die as a sign of respect just after he entered the fray. Sasuke's emotions were equally mixed. The other party had nearly killed him before. How could such a powerful being be seriously ill? If he were healthy, wouldn't he have killed him 7 or 8 times already? Well, let's bury him. Even though he's an enemy, let's let him return to dust as a sign of respect for the deceased, Kakashi sighed inwardly. He had heard of the Hyuga clan's genocide years ago, so he had been surprised to see Kimimaro. He didn't know if Kimimaro was the last survivor of the Hyuga clan, or if there were still others left. He just hoped it was the second possibility. Because if it was the first case, it would mean that the Hyuga clan would be completely wiped out from the world from now on. Let me do it. After hearing his words, Sasuke volunteered with mixed feelings. This enemy would leave a very deep impression on him. After burying Kimimaro, everyone continued on their journey. On the way, Sakura followed the main group, silently thinking about something. Although the others noticed, they did not ask much, thinking that she was still thinking about Kimimaro's death. After all, girls are always more sentimental. As they walked, Kakashi glanced at Goku beside him, as if he wanted to say something, but stopped at his lips. Huh? Do you have anything to say, Kakashi? Goku noticed his situation and looked at him strangely. After hesitating for a few seconds, Kakashi, seemingly resolute, spoke calmly. Goku, didn't I tell you last time I wanted to try practicing ki? I've been trying for days, but I still can't feel it. Do you think I'm cut out for it? During his previous battle with Orochimaru, he'd noticed his slow progress in strength over the years, and so he considered learning ki. He'd shared this idea with Goku, who supported him. While recuperating at home, he'd begun trying to sense his own ki. But until now, he'd been unsuccessful, leaving him with some doubts about his life. Could it be that he didn't have the talent for it? This was the reason he'd been so hesitant to speak. After all, his own students had successfully mastered ki, while he, as their teacher, couldn't. It was truly humiliating. No way, Kakashi-sensei, how could you not feel it? As he dreaded it, Naruto, with his sharp ears, leaped in front of him, staring at him in astonishment. Though his expression held no malice, merely a simple oddity, it was precisely that gave him a heart attack. After all, a look without malice could be even more devastating than one with malice. Is that so? Goku pinched his chin, brow furrowed in thought. This shouldn't be the case. Even if one's talent was lacking, they should have sensed it after all these days. It wasn't until a voice in his heart reminded him that he suddenly understood. That's right. How could he have forgotten? That day, when Kakashi told him about this, he was starving and so busy feasting that he'd forgotten to ask Shenlong to release the restrictions. After that, Kakashi never mentioned it again, and he'd forgotten even more. Thinking of this, he placed a hand on Kakashi's shoulder and gave him an encouraging smile. Calm down and feel it carefully. I believe you'll succeed next time. And when Shenlong gave him the okay, he removed his hand. Oh, is that so? Thank you, Goku. Kakashi was deeply touched by Goku's words of encouragement, believing Goku was just trying to protect his pride. Little did he know, his failure was actually caused by Goku forgetting to remove his restrictions, and Goku's encouragement was just a cover-up for doing so. Hey, Sasuke, what are you doing? After Kakashi's story was over, Naruto approached Sasuke again, gazing at him with confusion. Sasuke formed a ki bullet in his hand and stared at it. Naruto's question evoked a calming response. Don't you think our offensive methods are a bit limited? After his defeat against Kimimaro, he felt his current offensive arsenal was somewhat limited. While he possessed physical skills for close combat, ki bullets, and Kamehameha for ranged attacks, he possessed a comprehensive range of abilities. However, aside from the powerful Kamehameha, the other two were only moderately effective. Especially when dealing with some enemies who are also masters of physical skills or have particularly strong recovery ability, his physical skills and ki bullets are difficult to be effective against them. Although this is mainly related to the insufficient strength of his ki. If the strength of the ki is strong enough, no matter how powerful the enemy is, he can easily hurt the opponent, just like Wukong. But the problem is that after practicing in recent days, he can obviously feel that the speed of his ki practice has slowed down a lot. According to Wukong, he is probably in a bottleneck period now and needs to break through continuous practice, which takes a certain amount of time. So, during this period of time, can he improve his strength indirectly by thinking of some new moves? He thinks he can, and he must. Otherwise, the next time he meets a special enemy like Kimimaro, he will most likely repeat the same mistakes, and this is something he cannot allow. Chapter 110 Ki Yuan-zan, on stage. So what are you thinking? I'm thinking, since I can condense ki into a sphere, can I also condense it into other shapes, like a sphere or something with great destructive power? Then why are you still staring at this? Why don't you condense one and see, idiot? Is this that easy? Just try it yourself and you'll see, Sasuke said angrily. If condensing ki into a sphere was so easy, why would he keep staring at the ki ball, observing its detailed structure? Tisk, just try it, Naruto pouted, then tried to condense the ki into a sphere in his hand. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get the ki to condense into this shape. Ow! This is really difficult. After repeated attempts, he rubbed his hair in frustration. When it was condensed into a ki ball, it was fine. The ki was like an obedient baby, letting him control it. But when he tried to condense it into another form, the ki was like a rebellious child. You told it to go east, but it went west, and no matter how hard you pulled it back, it wouldn't move. HMPH, you see how hard it is now. Seeing him fail, Sasuke curled his lips. Suddenly, a rhythmic series of loud noises echoed from the distance, as if some enormous creature were walking. Soon, the sound gradually approached, and they saw trees falling one after another ahead. Then, a giant bear, as tall as a 3-story building, came into view. Wow, what a huge bear! Naruto instinctively opened his mouth as he looked at the giant bear. The bear, currently on all fours, was already 3 stories tall. Standing up, it would be unimaginable. Roar! Upon seeing them, the giant bear roared, its eyes flashing with greed. Humans. It hadn't tasted such delicious food in ages. While there weren't many this time, it was enough to make a small snack for it. With that thought, it took off, its maw wide open, wide enough to swallow a dozen humans in one gulp, and charged towards Goku, Naruto, and the others. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Though the giant bear's movements were incredibly fast, those present were no ordinary creatures, and with a simple leap, they dodged its attack. Slurp, Goku, leaping into the air, gulped as he gazed down at the giant bear below. This giant bear looks delicious. With that thought, he plummeted downwards, landing on the bear's head as it tried to lift its head. Boom! With his stomp, the bear's head slammed back to the ground with a deafening roar. Done. Goku stood atop the bear's head, hands on his hips, a look of delight on his face. Wow, Goku-sensei, you're not planning on eating it, are you? Naruto smacked his lips as he stood before the giant bear, the behemoth that looked like it was a multiple of his own. A bear that size, even with Goku's appetite, wouldn't be able to finish it. Yet, lunchtime's almost here, so we'll use this for lunch, Goku said, rubbing his head with a silly smile. But, can we finish it? Well, Goku frowned. This thing was indeed quite large, so large that even with his appetite, he couldn't eat it all at once, and would need to finish it several times. After a few seconds, a sudden thought occurred to him, and his eyes lit up. Kakashi, can't you store things in that scroll? Shouldn't this thing be able to store things too? He remembered that Kakashi had once used this method to take away a large amount of Kato's wealth, and that the volume of that wealth was comparable to the giant bear before him. Okay, Kakashi's eye twitched. He had never thought that his storage scroll would one day be used to store food. After receiving the confirmation, Goku beamed with joy. He then looked at Naruto and Sasuke and said, "Naruto, Sasuke, weren't you just trying to figure out how to transform your ki? Now I'll show you this move." He had noticed the two men's discussion of transforming ki and had intended to wait until they finished before demonstrating the move. But the giant bear's appearance made him decide to demonstrate it now. After all, it was the only move he could use to quickly dismember the bear. Upon hearing this, Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi all looked over curiously. The first two, in particular, had their eyes ablaze with eagerness. Goku raised his hand, palm facing the sky. Ki slash, a shimmering disc, as thin as a blade, emerged from his palm, spinning at high speed like a slicing machine, making a sharp sound as air was ripped apart. "What is this?" Naruto and Sasuke's eyes widened, and they gazed at it eagerly, as if they had seen something truly extraordinary. "Hey, watch this!" Goku raised his lip, leaping off the giant bear's head. Immediately, he swung his ki slash into the bear. Whoosh! The ki slash plunged vertically into the bear's flesh, then swiftly shattered from the other side. Then, it turned around, dove into the bear again, and shattered from the other side. This movement repeated dozens of times. When the ki slash finally emerged from the bear's body, a clatter. Dozens of blood streaks emanated from the bear's body, and its enormous body transformed into square chunks of flesh. Gudong, someone swallowed. What terrifying cutting power! Kakashi's forehead was covered in sweat. Although he hadn't experienced this move firsthand, his intuition told him that no defensive ninjutsu in the ninja world could withstand it. Wow, this is powerful! Naruto's eyes sparkled with stars after witnessing the power of the ki slash. If I had known this move before, Sasuke thought back to his previous battle with Kimimaro. If he had known this move, no matter how strong Kimimaro's bones were, he would certainly not have been able to withstand it. "Hey, Goku-sensei, I want to learn this move. It's so cool and powerful." Naruto hopped over to Goku like a rabbit, looking at him eagerly. "That's no problem, but this move won't be learned overnight. It's much more difficult than Kamehameha." Goku smiled, rubbing his head. Even Krillin, the strongest person on Earth, had spent a considerable amount of time creating this move, so Naruto and the others certainly wouldn't be able to learn it overnight. "No matter how difficult it is, I'll learn it," Naruto said with a determined look, clenching his fists. "Idiot, you should learn the simple ones first. Don't aim too high." Sasuke folded his arms and said with disdain. "Tisk, of course I know that. Sasuke, let's have a competition to see who learns this move first. The loser have to promise the other person something that can't be refused." After thinking for 2 seconds, Naruto said provocatively. "Haha, interesting, it's a deal." Sasuke curled the corners of his mouth and agreed without hesitation. How about I join in?" Just as they reached an agreement on the competition, Sakura came over with a smile. "Ahem, I'm a little hungry, Teacher Goku, aren't we going to eat yet?" The two of them suddenly fell silent, one looking up at the sky. And the other coughed and looked at Goku as if nothing had happened. What a joke! If Sakura also joined in, they wouldn't have to compete. Because there's only one final result, that is, Sakura wins and they lose. Chapter 111, Training on the Road, First Encounter with Tsunade. In a remote town within the Land of Fire, a crowd gathered around a gambling table in a bustling casino, their gaze fixed on a woman with flaxen hair and a green coat. She was Konoha's slug princess, the jackpot of the casino world, Tsunade. Bang! Tsunade slammed her chips on the table, her tone filled with conviction. 6 small numbers in a row, this one's gotta be big. I'm betting big. Upon hearing this, the crowd also slammed their chips on the table. Small, small, small. I'm betting small. Me too. Me too. I'm betting small too. After everyone placed their bets, the dealer smiled at the crowd and slowly lifted the dice cup, revealing the dice inside. "Ah! I win. It's really a small one, ho ha ho ha. I won again." After seeing the number on the dice, everyone burst into laughter and cheers. Only Tsunade, who had lost, gritted her teeth, her chest heaving, and slammed her hand on the table with a look of dissatisfaction. "Again. I refuse to lose forever." She then reached for the bag of chips nearby, ready to take out some more. However, her expression changed as she found the bag completely empty. She had obviously squandered all the chips. She searched her pockets again, trying to find money to exchange for chips, but a few seconds later, she realized she was completely penniless, having already exchanged all her money for chips. The smiling shopkeeper, standing by the crowd, noticed this scene. A gleam flashed in his eyes. He quickly pushed through the crowd, approached Tsunade, and said gently, "Madam, if you don't have enough money on you, we can provide you with an interest-free loan of 2 million ryo." Oh, Tsunade's eyes flickered at the shopkeeper's words, clearly tempted. Seizing the opportunity, the shopkeeper added, "Madam, you're our most distinguished customer, so we're offering you an interest-free loan. Others won't get this privilege, and think about it, how could you keep losing? Maybe you're just leaving your luck behind." Tsunade was overjoyed and pounded her fist. Right. How could I keep losing? I must have been unlucky before. I'll definitely win next time. I want the loan. Give me the 2 million ryo. Seeing Tsunade had taken the bait, a subtle sly glint flashed in the shopkeeper's eyes. The legendary ninja world's fat sheep, who always loses in gambling, how could he be justified if he didn't make a killing today, in a forest? Boom. Wah. Not only was it difficult to control, but the chi could easily collapse during the process, like trying to drag a child home from playing outside only to have them sit down on the street and burst into tears. Frustrated by repeated failures, Naruto frantically squeezed the chi in his palms, trying to shape it into his desired form. Unexpectedly, the chi only grew stronger, exploding with a bang, instantly scattering him to dust, leading to the scene just before. "Naruto, how can you do it like that? Look, do it like me." Sakura wiped away tears of laughter and, with a flip of her hand, formed a kune made of chi in her palm. While the kune was still crude, with the sharp edges rounded, it still held its shape, far superior to the two Naruto and Sasuke attempts to achieve. Tisk. Naruto wiped his face and turned his head away, his eyes still furtively glancing at her hand. Damn. How did she do that? He gritted his teeth inwardly. Let's go, it's time to get going. There should be a small town up ahead where we can rest up. Kakashi said, standing up. They'd been sleeping outdoors for the past few days. While they could breathe in the great outdoors, it was getting irritating after a while. Because of the humid climate of the Land of Fire, mosquitoes and insects were innumerable. Even with insect repellent, some were still fearless enough to rush over. Besides, bathing in the wild wasn't easy. Aside from Goku and Naruto, the two who hadn't hesitated and bathed in the river, the rest of them hadn't washed, leaving them all smelling rather awful. Great. Finally a bath, Sakura cheered, raising her hand. As a girl, she had long been intolerant of the stench of her body, so hearing there was a place to bathe was naturally a delight. They set off on their journey, and half an hour later, a small town came into view. Inside, a group of sword-wielding warriors were searching the streets, searching for something. Hurry, find that woman for me, damn it, where did she go? They were looking for none other than Tsunade, who owed them tens of millions of taels of silver. They'd searched across much of the Land of Fire for the money, finally finding her in a casino here. But as soon as she heard they were coming to collect, she bolted, disappearing without a trace. At the casino's entrance, the previously calm and composed owner was now distraught, on the verge of tears. They say the ninja world's richest men are incredibly wealthy, but no one told him she was saddled with loan sharks. Now, the 2 million he'd lent her would be completely wasted. In an alley, Tsunade, transformed into a teenage figure, glanced at the samurai outside, her lips curled. Huh, you think you can catch me? To avoid her debts, she'd often assumed this form, always unrecognizable. The reason, of course, was her shrunken appearance, making her unrecognizable to anyone. Hey, Jingayan, haven't you completed the mission yet? Now you're broke. Although she often borrowed money from loan sharks, it didn't mean she didn't make some money on her own. It was just that the speed at which she made money was far slower than the speed at which she spent it. She had previously accepted a mission that didn't require her to do anything, but only required her disciple Jingayan to complete it. So she sent her there, and took advantage of the fact that no one was watching to go to the casino and gamble. As a result, not only did she lose all her money, but she also had another debt. Huh? At this moment, she suddenly heard a noise behind her and turned to look. The sight made her pupils shrink immediately. Rope tree. Chapter 112, The Boss Who Is Good at Changing His Face, Sakura's Decision. Because Goku and his companions had emerged from the forest at a corner of town, they entered through a small alley, preparing to walk down to the main street. Just as they were about to exit the alley, they noticed a young girl with a blonde ponytail staring at them in shock. No, more accurately, at Naruto. Huh? Who's this girl? Why is she looking at me like that? Could she have fallen in love with me? Seeing the charming girl staring at him without blinking, Naruto suddenly felt better about himself, chin in hand, wondering if he'd gotten more handsome these days. Everyone was speechless. Sakura punched him in the head. Stop being so narcissistic. You narcissist, ouch. That hurts. Tsunade, who had initially thought she'd seen her dead brother, snapped back to reality, a bitter smile forming on her lips. Oh, what was she thinking? Naruto had been dead for so many years, how could he possibly show up? This brat before her merely bore a passing resemblance. At this moment, Kakashi, already sensing something, stepped forward, looked at her tentatively, and asked, "Are you Tsunade-sama?" Tsunade's eyes narrowed. Seeing her reaction, Kakashi immediately confirmed his suspicions and explained, "I once had the pleasure of seeing a photo of you as a child, which is why I recognize you." "I see, Kakashi. After all these years, your eyesight has improved quite a bit." Seeing that she was recognized, Tsunade no longer tried to hide her identity and readily admitted it. "Tsunade-sama, what are you doing?" Kakashi was puzzled by the woman's transformation back to her childhood. "Don't bother me. I haven't even asked you what you're doing here. And that brat, isn't that you?" Tsunade glanced at Naruto. "You're right," Kakashi said, understanding. As for why we're here, he was a little unsure what to say. Were they planning to challenge another ninja village? Alright, I don't want to know. I won't tell you anymore. I have things to do, so I'm leaving now." Tsunade waved, not even bothering to say goodbye to anyone but Kakashi, and quickly turned and left. After she left, Kakashi turned around and was immediately met with 4 puzzled glances. He curled his lips and said, "It's a long story. Let's find a place to eat first, in a restaurant. Table 13, 100 roasted pig's trotters, 100 plates." The word stopped abruptly, and the waiter's eyes nearly bulged as he looked at a menu in his hand. What did he see? Every dish this table ordered was 100 servings. And they had ordered over 100 dishes in total. After a moment, he wiped the sweat from his forehead and, stuttering slightly, looked at the customers before him and said, "Excuse me, are you sure every dish is 100 servings?" "Yes, please wait a moment, I need to ask the boss." With that, the waiter immediately ran to the backstage and summoned the boss. "You're not kidding us, are you? Our restaurant may be small, but we're not to be trifled with." The boss approached with a fierce look, glaring at the table. He'd seen big eaters before, but even big eaters couldn't eat so much. 100 pig's trotters was their limit. While this table of 5 consisted of 3 children, the remaining 2 adults, even if they were big eaters, certainly couldn't handle so much. No, boss, don't worry about us playing tricks on you. Let's pay first." The table was none other than Goku and Kakashi. Guided by Goku's sense of smell, they'd found the restaurant that smelled the best and decided to feast. Needless to say, their appetites were enormous. Aside from Kakashi, who ate a normal amount, the other 4, especially Goku, ate far more than most. Even with what they ordered now, it wasn't certain if it would be enough for them by the end of the day. Kakashi finished, then immediately pulled out several gold bars and placed them on the table. The boss's eyes widened at the sight. Then, his face wrinkled into a fawning smile, like an old tree blossoming. "Hello, sir. Would you like anything else? Our restaurant boasts the most extensive menu in town. You can find everything you won't find elsewhere." "No thanks, we'll talk to you later." "Okay, then, please be patient, sir. We'll get everything ready as soon as possible." With that, the boss unnoticeably took the gold bar and yelled at the stunned waiter, "What are you still standing there for? Hurry and get the menu to the kitchen and have them give it their all. If you keep us waiting even a minute longer, I'll hold you accountable." Yes, the waiter hurried off. Then, after the boss also bowed and withdrew, everyone smiled at each other. It had been so long since they'd seen such a scene. Ever since they'd become familiar with Konoha's restaurants, no matter which one they went to, no one would question the size of their order. "So, who was that girl just now, Kakashi-sensei?" Naruto asked while waiting for their food. "That wasn't just any girl. She was one of our Konoha's powerful ninjas, Tsunade-sama, known as the Slug Princess. She simply transformed herself into her younger self using a transformation jutsu. She left Konoha for some reason many years ago. I didn't expect to see her here now." "Powerful? How powerful. Naruto didn't care about anything else, only this. About the same as Orochimaru. They were once known as one of Konoha's 3 ninjas. But besides being incredibly powerful, Tsunade-sama is also extremely proficient in medical ninjutsu. Proficient in medical ninjutsu? Sakura, who had also been listening quietly, was struck by this. For the past few days, she'd been wondering if their team needed a medical ninja. The question had been on her mind ever since Kakashi's injury. At that time, she was helpless in the face of Kakashi's wounds, helplessly watching him bleed, leaving her with a deep psychological trauma. Witnessing Kamimaro's sudden death from illness not long ago had rekindled her thinking. After all, if their team had a master of medical ninjutsu, they could more confidently face off against all odds, without having to worry about being helpless against illness. So, after hearing Kakashi's description, she asked, Kakashi-sensei, is Tsunade-sama's medical ninjutsu truly that powerful? Kakashi seemed a little surprised by the question, but he explained anyway. Let me put it this way. Tsunade-sama's medical ninjutsu is among the best in the ninja world. If there's an illness she can't cure, most likely no one else can either. Hearing this, Sakura understood. After a moment's reflection, she addressed the group, as if resolving something. Everyone, I'd like to learn medical ninjutsu from Tsunade-sensei. What do you think? Everyone was stunned. Naruto, in particular, immediately asked, why, Sakura? Because I never want to be left alone, anxious and helpless when one of us gets hurt, Sakura said seriously. Then she looked at Goku and Kakashi. Goku-sensei. Kakashi-sensei, do you support me? Well, if you learn this, what about your training? Goku pinched his chin, a bit worried. He recognized Sakura's talent and didn't want her to neglect her martial arts. I can learn medical ninjutsu while I train, don't worry about that. That's no problem. Goku relaxed his brow and smiled. That's fine with me, but you have to know one thing, Lady Tsunade most likely won't accept you as her apprentice. Goku, Sakura's current training instructor, agreed, and Kakashi naturally agreed too, but he believed Sakura's idea would most likely fail. After all, Tsunade probably wasn't in the mood to take on new disciples anymore. Chapter 113 Give you 3 days. Across town, in a tavern, Tsunade was drinking from a bottle. Gulp. In a matter of moments, she'd emptied the entire bottle. Burp. Refreshing, she tossed the bottle aside and burped, her face flushed. Dozens of empty bottles lay at her feet. Tsunade-sama, please stop drinking. Shizune, beside her, noticed Tsunade was about to grab another bottle and quickly dissuaded her. Poo-oo-oo, the pink piggy in her arms chirped. Leave me alone. I'm going to have a good drink today. Tsunade slapped Shizune's hand away, drunkenly picking up an unopened bottle of wine. She popped a cork and began to chug again. What's wrong with Tsunade-sama? Shizune looked helpless, her heart thick with worry. After completing her mission, she returned to find Tsunade, who had dragged her here without a word and then proceeded to drink profusely. Logically, she should have been used to this, as Tsunade was a regular drinker. But while she drank regularly, she never drank excessively, typically a dozen bottles or so. This time, she'd already surpassed that. Could it be that Tsunade-sama has suddenly been thinking of Naoki and Uncle Kato again? She wondered. She only saw Tsunade in this state when she missed them. Over the years, due to her willful oblivion, this had become rare, and she had no idea why it happened again today. What she didn't know was that Tsunade's reaction today was due to seeing Naruto, who bore a striking resemblance to Naoki. Naruto's face was like a sledgehammer, shattering the walls of defense Tsunade had painstakingly built, bringing back those heartbreaking memories. Creak. Just then, the tavern door swung open, and a voice echoed from outside. If you can't find it here, Sakura, you can probably give up, Kakashi said as he entered, quickly scanning the interior. Within 2 seconds, his gaze fixed on a corner, precisely where Tsunade and Shizune were. Looks like you're lucky, Sakura. Behind him, Goku, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura entered, all looking in his direction. After finishing their meal, they began searching the town for Tsunade, but after a long search, they found her in vain. They had considered using their aura to search, but neither Naruto, the other 3, nor Goku had previously memorized each other's aura, so even if they tried, they wouldn't have any idea where to start. So, they slowly searched down the street, and nearing the end of the street, they spotted this tavern. Remembering Tsunade's fondness for alcohol, Kakashi pushed the door open and, fortunately, spotted her. Well, Kakashi-sensei, You're amazing." After finding Tsunade, Sakura breathed a sigh of relief, a smile on her face. She didn't want her idea to fail before even trying. But then her smile faded. "Tsunade-senpai, is she drinking?" Everyone moved towards the corner where Tsunade was. As they got closer, they could clearly see her inebriated eyes and dozens of empty bottles scattered around her. "Hey, Kakashi, why are you here? And who are these people?" Shizune, who had been at a loss as to how to deal with Tsunade's drinking, immediately noticed them and a look of surprise crossed her face. She soon noticed Naruto, who was standing behind Kakashi, peeking out, and he exclaimed, "Just like Tsunade, Naruto." Although she was young when Naruto died, as Tsunade's disciple and servant for so many years, she had seen countless photos of him and was deeply impressed by his appearance. "Naruto?" Unlike Tsunade's inner exclamation, Shizune spoke aloud, and Kakashi and the others all heard the name. "Hey, my name isn't Naruto, it's Naruto, Uzumaki Naruto." Naruto frowned. Shizune realized she'd recognized the wrong person and apologized quickly. Sorry, we look so much alike, so I accidentally made a mistake." It dawned on her that no wonder Tsunade-sama was in such a bad state today. She must have seen him while she was away, and that reminded her of Naruto. "So you're here. We are looking for Tsunade-sama, but she seems to be having some trouble right now." Kakashi's eyes twitched as he watched Tsunade, who reeked of alcohol. He'd heard she liked to drink, but he hadn't expected her to become an alcoholic. Sorry. Lady Tsunade isn't usually like this. She just had something on her mind today." "Shut up, Shizune." Before Shizune could finish, the tipsy Tsunade interrupted her, glaring at Kakashi and the others with drunken eyes. "Kakashi, what do you want from me?" "Hello, Tsunade-senpai. My name is Iruno Sakura. I'd love to learn medical ninjutsu from you. Could you please accept me as your disciple?" Without waiting for Kakashi to respond, Sakura, already prepared, stepped forward and addressed Tsunade respectfully. "You?" Tsunade looked Sakura up and down, then waved her hand. No, you should learn from someone else." Sakura bit her lip and tried again. "Tsunade-senpai, I've heard your medical ninjutsu is the best in the ninja world, so I'd love to learn from you. Please consider me." With that, she gave Tsunade a deep bow. "I already told you I won't accept you. Find someone else." This time, Tsunade didn't even glance at her, instead picking up her drink and chugging away. "Hey, what's with your attitude?" Naruto, unable to bear it, stepped forward and pointed at Tsunade, shouting. "Sakura is so sincere about wanting to learn from you. Even if you don't want to accept you, at least give me a reason. Are you truly unworthy of your reputation?" "A reason? Haha, the reason is that learning this stuff is pointless. Why bother learning it?" Tsunade didn't care at all about being criticized for her medical skills, even deliberately downplaying the effectiveness of medical ninjutsu. "How can it be useless, Tsunade-senpai? Would learning it allow me to treat my comrades in time when they're injured, so they don't die because they missed the treatment time?" Sakura said seriously. "The reason I want to learn it is because I want to be able to heal my comrades. I don't want to be left to watch helplessly when they're injured or sick. I hate that feeling." Tsunade fell silent. Looking at Sakura, who wore a determined and serious expression, she seemed to see herself in the past. Back then, she had also learned medical ninjutsu for the same reason, but in the end, the medical ninjutsu she was so proud of couldn't save the two people she loved most. "Shizune," she suddenly said. "Hey, what's wrong, Tsunade-sama? I'll teach her the palm ninjutsu tomorrow." "Huh?" Ignoring Shizune's bewildered expression, she looked at Sakura, the blush on her face fading almost instantly. "Starting tomorrow, I'll give you 3 days. If you can master this jutsu in 3 days, I'll take you in as my disciple." As if overwhelmed by surprise, Sakura said excitedly, "I understand, Tsunade-sama. I will definitely let you take me in as your disciple." Chapter 114 Tsunade playing dice with Goku. Goku and his companions had originally planned to rest in the town for a few days, and with Sakura and Tsunade's agreement, it seemed only natural for them to settle down there. The next day, in the open space outside the town, Sakura, the palm ninjutsu, is a medical ninjutsu that uses chakra from the palms to accelerate the healing of wounds and internal injuries. "Do you understand?" Shizune, acting as a makeshift teacher, patiently instructed Sakura. "Yes, I understand." "Okay, then the technique for the palm ninjutsu is..." Tsunade glanced over from a distance and thought to herself, "If you can learn this jutsu within 3 days, it means you have the talent. Don't blame me if you can't." 3 days is a demanding time frame, one that countless medical ninjas would bow down to. For even a year, or even a lifetime, let alone 3 days, they might never be able to master this jutsu. After all, the palm senjutsu requires a great deal of talent. Without extremely precise chakra control, mastering it is impossible. And Tsunade's 3-day deadline was because it took her, herself, to master it. If she wanted him to accept her as a disciple, he had to demonstrate talent comparable to hers. This was her pride as the medical saint of the ninja world. Hey, you guys have some money, right? How about we gamble a few rounds? Tsunade, bored, invited Kakashi and the others. She wasn't going to the casino because she was on their wanted list. While she could transform, she was too lazy to maintain that form. Tisk, no way. We don't have as much free time as you, Naruto sneered, arms folded. If he hadn't wanted to see Sakura learning the palm immortal technique, he would have gone off to practice somewhere deserted by now. Ha, that's not good, Tsunade-sama, Kakashi said with an awkward laugh. While he had a habit of admiring his younger uncle, he had no habit of gambling. Money? I have. Goku scratched his face and pulled out several wads of banknotes. Wow, so much money. Tsunade raised an eyebrow at the sight of the stacks of notes, which amounted to no less than 1 million ryo. Then, looking at Kakashi, she asked, come to think of it, I'm still unsure who this gentleman is. Goku's attire didn't resemble a ninja at all, so she had no idea who he was. He's our training teacher, Naruto shouted before Kakashi could respond. Teacher? Tsunade was a little surprised, but she didn't bother asking any more questions. She casually pulled out a dice cup from her pocket. Come on. Since you have money, let's have a gamble, but I don't know how to do this. Goku blinked, staring at the cup with a somewhat naive look. No problem. It's easy. I'll teach you. Tsunade waved her hand and began to explain. After half a minute, she looked at Goku, who seemed to have grasped something, and said confidently, how's it going? Got it, huh? I think so, Goku said, rubbing his head and grinning. Okay, then, let's get started, and so, Tsunade began to roll the dice. Clap. After she finished rolling the dice, she looked at Goku and casually asked, are you betting on big or small this time? Well, I'll bet on small. Goku smiled and held a bill in front of him, indicating his bet. If he guessed wrong, the money would go to Tsunade. If he guessed right, Tsunade would give him the same amount. After hearing his answer, Tsunade took a deep breath and slowly raised the dice cup. 1, 2, 3, Goku looked at the exposed dice and began to count. 8, didn't I win? Haha. Within 2 seconds, he rubbed his head and grinned. Yes, you win. 3 to 10 is small, 11 to 18 is big, so Goku had indeed won. Tsunade cheerfully took out a bill and handed it to him. After all, it was only the first round, and he was the one guessing, so it was normal for him to lose if he got lucky. Then it was Goku's turn to roll the dice. Clap. After Goku finished shaking the dice, Tsunade stared at the dice cup for several seconds before slowly saying, I'm betting on big. She'd lost over 10 rounds of big bets in a row at the casino yesterday, leaving her feeling incredibly frustrated. She couldn't believe she'd be betting on big and still lose again today. Then I'll open it, placing a banknote in front of her as her bet. Tsunade nodded emphatically. Goku then took the dice cup, and her expression froze. Small again, she grumbled inwardly. Yet, she remained calm on the surface. Haha, looks like I've lost this time. Here, your money. She readily handed over the money again. Then, holding the dice cup, she took over the banker's seat for the second time. Big or small? Big, you're lucky. You win again. Here's your money. It was Goku's turn to be the banker. Big again, I lost again. Your money, she said with a twitch of her lips. Then it was her turn to be the banker again. Clang. Big or small? Hey, big, how are you so accurate? I'll give you my money. After more than a dozen rounds, whether it was Goku or her, she lost every time. Her expression, initially calm, gradually twitched, until veins popped and she gritted her teeth. Crack. The dice cup was crushed by her hand, peacefully departing for paradise. The dice inside were also happy, experiencing the feeling of being shattered into pieces. I'm done playing. My luck's been bad today, she said expressionlessly, throwing the dice cup away. She'd bet on big again, and lost every time. How could that be? It must be that she'd been unlucky lately, and needed to wash off her bad luck before gambling again. Huh? Seeing Tsunade's violence, Goku's mind flashed to Chi-Chi. Ho ha ho ha. I'm dying of laughter. Auntie, you're such a terrible gambler, you keep losing to Goku-sensei. Naruto, who had been watching the entire thing, burst into laughter, completely unaware that a word he'd spoken had rubbed Naruto the wrong way. Crackling. Tsunade, already in a bad mood, gritted her teeth and clenched her fists at the word auntie. Who are you calling auntie, huh? Isn't auntie right? Should I call her grandma? Naruto, still unaware of the situation, frowned, clenching his chin as he pondered. Bang! The word grandma instantly ignited Tsunade's wrath. Kid, who are you calling grandma? Furious, Tsunade raised her fist, as big as a sandbag, and instantly smashed it down on Naruto's head. Why? Naruto only had time to shield himself from the furious blow before being sent flying. Huh? This kid's reaction time is so fast. Although she had successfully sent Naruto flying, Tsunade was stunned, because normally, Naruto wouldn't have been able to react quickly enough to defend himself. Could it be this man's doing? She glanced at Goku, who was sitting on the ground, grinning as he watched Naruto fly away, and a thought flashed through her mind. Naruto had said that Goku was their teacher, and she had no idea what he was teaching her. But from Naruto's reaction speed just now, and from what she had observed about Goku's muscular physique, she had a guess in her mind, that is, Goku was their teacher teaching them taijutsu. Chapter 115, Tsunade wants to fight with Goku. Why did you hit me? It hurts? Tsunade wondered as Naruto, who had been sent flying by her blow, ran over angrily, pointing at her. Oh? You're totally fine. Seeing Naruto's condition, Tsunade was surprised, but her suspicions were immediately confirmed. Even though she hadn't used her full strength in that punch, she had still managed to knock him out for a long time. And now, Naruto was perfectly fine, still prancing around in front of her. Hey, kid, who taught you taijutsu? Though she assumed Goku was the answer, Tsunade didn't directly name him. What if she was wrong? What if Kakashi had actually taught Naruto taijutsu? That would be embarrassing. Humph, of course Goku-sensei taught me, Naruto said angrily, crossing his arms. Then, as if thinking of something, he added, why are you asking that? I'm telling you, even if you want to learn, there's no way. While whether Goku taught him or not was irrelevant to him, it didn't stop him from letting out some vent. However, Tsunade didn't get angry, but instead laughed, even her previous anger disappearing. Kid, why should I go learn from your teacher? You really amuse me. Forget it, I won't bother with you about what happened just now. In her mind, Naruto was now a silly little guy, and arguing with such a little kid about how he addressed her was really boring. However, Naruto's answer began to irritate her again. Because your taijutsu isn't as good as Goku-sensei's, of course you want to learn from him. Kid, you don't know me, do you? Of course I do. Kakashi-sensei told us you're one of Konoha's 3 ninjas, and a very powerful one. Then do you know what my strengths are? How would I know? I've never seen you before, but your strength and speed were impressive. Could it be that your strength is in taijutsu? At this point, Naruto looked at Tsunade suspiciously. Snap. Tsunade snapped her fingers and said with a half-smile, you're right. Upon hearing her answer, Naruto uttered a no, then shook his head again. Even so, you can't compare it to Goku-sensei. Goku-sensei's taijutsu is the best. Oh? Seeing Naruto's persistence, Tsunade felt a strange urge to prove herself. The pent-up anger from her previous bets against Goku only intensified this desire. Never one to shy away, she immediately looked at Goku and invited him, since your disciples are so supportive, why don't we give it a try? Ahem, Tsunade-sama, why don't we just give it a try? Before Goku could reply, Kakashi, who had been enjoying himself, suddenly felt he couldn't continue and quickly intervened. He didn't know Tsunade's true strength, but he knew she was no match for Goku. Orochimaru, also one of the 3 ninjas, had been easily knocked out and captured by Goku, and Goku had even subdued the tailed beast single-handedly. How could Tsunade defeat such a powerful opponent? Therefore, to save Tsunade's humiliation, he felt the need to dissuade her. Upon hearing his dissuasion, Tsunade assumed he was trying to save Goku's face, so after a few seconds thought, she said, then let's not fight. Let's arm wrestle to see how strong we are. How about this? It's just a simple match. I'm sure you won't object, Kakashi. While fighting can easily leave the loser humiliated and disgraced, arm wrestling isn't like that. For masters of physical arts, Arm wrestling is a familiar little game, allowing them to gauge each other's strength without embarrassing the other. Of course, she herself didn't think she would lose, given her exceptional strength. Kakashi didn't object, as he also wanted to see how much strength Tsunade could push Goku to. Seeing no one object, Goku naturally agreed with a smile. Bang! Quickly, Tsunade stomped a stone platform from the ground for arm wrestling, placed her hand on it, and gestured to Goku. Come on. Show me your strength. Alright, Goku grinned, stepping forward and placing his hand on it as well. After the two shook hands, Kakashi, acting as referee, called out, 3, 2, 1, start, boom. Instantly, a powerful aura erupted from Tsunade, creating multiple powerful gusts of air around her. Although she felt her opponent couldn't defeat her, she wasn't about to underestimate him. She used 50% of her strength from the start, lest she be defeated. As for why she didn't use her full strength, it was because she wanted to save face for her opponent, to avoid being defeated instantly. However, things didn't go as she expected. As the match began, Goku remained grinning, his aura seemingly unwavering, as if he wasn't exerting any strength at all. But Tsunade knew otherwise, because Goku's hands, like old trees rooted to the ground, didn't budge even a bit under the immense force she was exerting. This man is quite something. Looking at Goku, who remained calm and composed, her eyes gleamed, knowing she had faced a formidable opponent. She no longer held back, and golden chakra suddenly emanated from her body, signaling the unleashing of her full power. Boom! In an instant, the turbulent air around her grew even more violent, sending pebbles soaring and flying, while nearby trees were blown toppling. Naruto, observing the battle from the sidelines, felt this powerful aura and muttered to himself, that damn old woman is quite formidable. I can't defeat her now, but with more practice, I'll surpass you. Then, hey, I'll return that blow you threw at me with interest. His inner thoughts aside, a smile finally crept across the arena. After unleashing her full power, she finally managed to pry Goku's hand free, gradually forcing it down. This man's strength is truly immense. I've never met anyone who could hold my own against me to this degree before. Even though she had managed to bend the opponent's hand and was on the verge of victory, she still felt a surge of admiration for him. To be able to contend with her to this degree meant he was at least among the top in the ninja world. With such strength, it was no wonder Naruto had praised him so highly before. As this thought flashed through her mind, she slowly lowered Goku's hand to a 45-degree angle. Suddenly, Goku chuckled and said, well, you're quite strong, huh? Then, a sincere expression crossed his face, but you can't beat me with that. Tsunade was stunned. Before she could even think, she suddenly felt the force in his hand increase dramatically, and then, in an instant, he bent his hand back to a 90-degree angle. Shock crossed Tsunade's face for the first time. How could this be possible? How did he do that? She grinned at her teeth, squeezing out even more strength, trying to push Goku's hand down again. But no matter how hard she tried, Wuquang's hand was as solid as a rock this time, and no matter how she tried to bend it, it was useless. After an unknown amount of time, she finally realized with despair that the other party was truly stronger than her, and she really couldn't bend him. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116 Tsunade examining Goku. On the competition field, the two contenders displayed contrasting expressions. One appeared composed and steady, while the other's veins bulged, a stark contrast. Crack! In her excitement, Tsunade lost control of her strength, causing cracks to appear on the stone platform below. Boom! 2 seconds later, the platform, unable to withstand the force she released, shattered with a resounding bang, leaving their clasped hands suspended in midair. Swish! Tsunade's strange power suddenly withered. Goku, sensing this, withdrew his strength almost simultaneously, leaving their hands evenly matched. Seeing this, Tsunade became even more convinced that her opponent was stronger than she. Such a precise control of strength could only be achieved by someone far more powerful than her. Swish! Wuquang released his grip, looked at the shattered stone platform, and patted his head, grinning innocently. Ah, the stone's broken. Looks like the match isn't over. The implication was that the match between the two hadn't concluded. HMPH, Don't save face for me. I lost this match. However, Tsunade was frank about her defeat. Lost was lost. She wouldn't brazenly assume the outcome was a draw just because of an incident she had caused. Her character was always forthright, straightforward, and unpretentious. This was why she was known as a heroine. HMPH, you idiot, ahem, you're quite self-aware as a woman. Seeing Tsunade's acknowledgement, Naruto's impression of her improved somewhat. He almost blurted out dead old woman and replaced it with a woman. However, Tsunade ignored him and looked at Wukong earnestly, asking, your name is Wukong, right? She hadn't asked his name before, she only knew Wukong from Naruto's address. Haha, yes. My name is Son Goku. You can call me Goku. My name is Tsunade, you're welcome. After introducing herself, Tsunade looked at Goku and asked again, Goku, you're not a ninja, are you? I didn't seem to detect any chakra fluctuations from you just now. During the arm wrestling match, she noticed something surprising. Goku's chakra was completely absent. This meant that the man before her possessed greater strength than she did, simply through physical strength, something she found difficult to imagine. Goku nodded, then added, I'm a traveler from Earth. A traveler from Earth? Tsunade was bewildered. Ahem, let me tell you. Seeing Goku's straightforwardness in revealing his identity, Kakashi suddenly felt the need to keep any secrets from Tsunade. But first, he had a question. Tsunade-sama, have you received any news from Konoha recently? Yes, what's wrong? Has something happened in Konoha? Tsunade was puzzled. Because of this town's remote location, information flowed very slowly. It often took over 2 weeks or even longer to receive news from the outside world. Lately, she and Shizune had been staying here, not going out much. With no Anbu to relay any information, she had no idea what was happening in Konoha. You really don't know? Then I'll tell you. Kakashi then recounted the story of Konoha's joint attack by Tsunagakure and Orochimaru, Goku's role in it, and Goku's personal story. Each story was more shocking than the last. After hearing it all, Tsunade felt her mind was a bit foggy. No, she hadn't received any information from the outside world for a few days. How could so much have suddenly happened? Are you saying Orochimaru was defeated? At the hands of Goku, after a moment's silence. She finally regained her composure and asked. Yes, Orochimaru is currently imprisoned in Konoha's prison. After confirming this news, Tsunade's expression was complicated, and she sighed inwardly. Then, looking at Goku earnestly, she said, Thank you, Goku, for capturing him, and for protecting Konoha from this crisis. Naturally, she didn't want her former comrade to stray further down the wrong path, but due to her own limitations, she couldn't capture him. Goku had helped her resolve this concern. Furthermore, despite her departure from Konoha, she still held a bond with it and didn't want the village her grandfather had built to be destroyed. Goku's intervention also helped protect this wish. Haha, you're so polite. Goku smiled and waved his hands. So what the brat said was true. I really can't beat you. It's ridiculous that I still insisted on challenging you. After thanking her, Tsunade smiled wryly and shook her head, a sense of shame welling up inside. She was, after all, too narrow-minded. Can you let me examine you? I don't mean anything else, I'm just curious about what Kakashi said about your ki in your body. Of course, if you find this offensive, just ignore it. Knowing Goku came from outside the ninja world, she couldn't help but be curious about his body, wondering if it was constructed like theirs. Furthermore, the supposed difference between ki and chakra, coupled with his previous display of immense physical strength, made her want to see more of him. Do you want an injection? Goku's expression was solemn, and he asked instead of answering. 3 question marks slowly formed in Tsunade's head. Just a physical exam, what the hell was an injection? She didn't know. Super Saiyan Goku feared nothing but injections, even more than Chikai's anger. When it came to his lifelong enemies, Vegeta, Frieza, Cell, and the evil dragon were far behind. Needles were his true enemy. Physical examinations usually required blood draw, which involves a needle. To him, it was no different from an injection, hence the question. No need. I'll just infuse my chakra into you. Though she didn't know why Goku had asked such a strange question, Tsunade decided not to delve into it, simply explaining her method. Huh? So that's it. Upon hearing her answer, Goku breathed a sigh of relief, a smile returning to his face. Then it's all right. Anything you want to do, with permission. Tsunade approached with curiosity, placing her hands on Goku's chest, abdomen, and then infusing his chakra into him. The moment the chakra entered, her expression suddenly changed. What an incredibly strong body. What a surge of energy. She felt like an asteroid, no, a meteorite meeting a star, before this body. There was no comparison. Swoosh. In less than a second, she retracted her chakra, cold sweat breaking out on her face. With a body so brimming with energy, she couldn't examine it at all. It was like being in the middle of a turbulent ocean, completely unable to move. And if she stayed there too long, she might be slammed hard by the waves of unconsciousness, suffering a backlash. Are you done checking? Seeing Tsunade withdraw her hand in an instant, Goku looked puzzled, somewhat bewildered. Tsunade twitched her lips, and after a long silence, she managed a sentence. Goku, are you sure you're human? Chapter 117. Sakura temporarily leaves the team and the journey begins again. 3 days later. Still in the open space outside town, Goku, Naruto, Sasuke, and Kakashi stood with their arms folded, not far from Sakura, Tsunade, and Shizune, watching silently. The 3 days are up, Sakura. Let me see what you can do, Tsunade said earnestly, looking at Sakura before turning her back. Yes, Tsunade-senpai, I will definitely not let you down. Sakura took a deep breath and looked at the stunned and anesthetized little white rabbit in her arms. Sorry, little bunny, it'll be alright soon. Tsunade's test for her involved using the palm magic to heal the rabbit's wound. So how did the wound come about? Of course. Sakura took out a kunai and carefully cut the rabbit's artery with it, causing blood to flow profusely. The rabbit slept peacefully, completely unaware that it was being used as an experimental subject. Begin, Sakura. Remember what I told you, Shizune encouraged, observing the entire test on Tsunade's behalf. Sakura nodded without another word. She channeled a ball of green chakra from her palm and placed it over the rabbit's wound. Tick, tick, tick. Time ticked by, and sweat gradually formed on her forehead. Though it was only a small wound, the fact that she had cut an artery made it much more challenging. It was especially challenging for someone like her, who had just mastered the palm magic technique. After an indeterminate amount of time, with beads of sweat covering her forehead, a smile of joy finally appeared on her face. The artery she had cut had miraculously healed. Then, the muscle tissue healed as well. And when the skin healed, the joy on her face was completely radiant. I did it, wow, did it work? Seeing this, Naruto, who had been waiting anxiously, scurried over to her side and examined her closely. Shizune, check it out, Tsunade, still with her back turned, spoke calmly. Yes, Tsunade-sama, Shizune agreed, placing her hand on the side of the little white rabbit's wound, feeling it carefully. After a moment, she smiled softly at Sakura, then announced the good news to Tsunade. Tsunade-sama, congratulations. You have a new disciple. Oh, you're amazing, Sakura. Upon hearing the news, Tsunade relaxed, a faint smile playing on her face. She had witnessed Sakura's hard work over the past 2 days, knowing that this little girl possessed a determination comparable to her own when she was learning medical ninjutsu. Consequently, her initial reluctance to accept her as a disciple had subtly shifted to a desire to do so. Even so, she wouldn't lower her standards, and she worried that Sakura wouldn't be able to meet them. Fortunately, Sakura possessed both the determination and the talent, successfully completing her assessment, a feeling of joy for her. Not long after, Sakura, since Tsunade-sama has accepted you as her disciple, then you must study diligently, and it's time for us to leave. Kakashi's eyes curved into crescents as he smiled at Sakura before him. That's true, but Sakura, don't forget to practice martial arts either, Goku said, grinning back at her. Slurp, Sakura sniffled, her eyes welling with tears. I'm sorry, Goku-sensei, I was supposed to accompany you on this trip, but, it turned out, while she felt she had made the right decision to stay and learn medical ninjutsu from Tsunade, she also felt guilty about not being able to accompany Goku on this trip. As for whether Tsunade could come along, well, forget it. Regardless of Tsunade's willingness, she had no nerve to ask her. It's okay, Sakura. I think you made the right decision. Goku placed his hand on Sakura's head and rubbed it, smiling broadly. In this world, there were no such things as senzu beans, nor advanced medical technology, so learning powerful medical ninjutsu was a crucial matter. He could only teach them how to improve their strength and protect themselves, but not this skill, So he felt Sakura's approach was correct. Right, and the ninja world is so vast. Maybe even after you've finished your training, Goku-sensei's tour won't be over yet. Then you can join in, Naruto added. Sasuke remained silent, but his eyes in and out of approval confirmed her. Yeah, I know. I'll learn as quickly as possible and rejoin the team. Seeing everyone's support, Sakura smiled and raised her fist in a vow. Afterward, Goku and the others said goodbye to Tsunade and Shizune before leaving and embarking on their journey again. Tsunade-sama, what are you thinking about? Shizune couldn't help but feel curious, seeing Tsunade staring at the direction Goku and the others had left for a long time without moving. I'm thinking, there might be some unrest in the ninja world. Tsunade's face showed a complex expression, a mixture of worry and amusement. She couldn't be sure whether Goku was actually human, but she was certain that no one in the ninja world could defeat him. So, after all the ninja villages Goku challenged to spar with each other, would they band together and decide to combine their strength to eliminate this formidable threat? And in that case, which side would Konoha side with, and how would Goku respond? Wow! Damn Sasuke, you've actually reached this point. On the way, Naruto glared at Sasuke, who had already begun to resemble a Kune. HMPH. I've been practicing non-stop these past few days. Unlike you, you still have time to look around. Sasuke's lip curled, as if he was enjoying Naruto's astonishment. Seeing his expression, Naruto was furious. He gritted his teeth and said, I won't let you get away with this for long. Just wait. He then ignored Sasuke and returned to his practice. Kakashi and Goku, following behind, watched the scene with smiles on their faces. Goku, I want to ask you a few questions. Huh? You say, well, as they walked, Kakashi humbly asked Goku several questions about ki training. He had previously doubted his talent, so he asked Goku, and he was encouraged that he would succeed next time. So, after that, he tried to sense ki again, and, as Goku had said, he actually did. Unaware that Goku had asked Shenlong to release his limitations, he thought Goku's mouth was divinely blessed and was amazed. Back to the point, after sensing ki, he officially began his ki training. And since it was his first time, he had questions he'd occasionally asked Goku. This question, let me think about it, I think it should be. Goku pinched his chin, pondered for a moment, and then answered. Some of these questions had never occurred to him, and if Kakashi hadn't asked, he wouldn't have known there were such questions about ki training. I see. Thank you, Goku. After getting the answer, Kakashi nodded in sudden enlightenment, and deeply felt that Goku was a good teacher. Chapter 118, Road to the Land of Grass, Goku and Karin. In a small town in the Land of Grass, several ninjas wearing Kusanin forward protectors hurriedly arrived at an inn carrying a stretcher. They shouted to a Kusanin standing in the upstairs hallway, quickly get Karin down. Amin is dying. Amin was referring to a ninja lying on a stretcher. He was pale, bleeding from a fist-sized wound on his abdomen, and it looked as if he would succumb to the blood loss. Seeing this, the Kusanin didn't hesitate. They immediately opened the door to the room next to them and shouted to a red-haired girl sitting on the bed, hugging her knees, Karin, get out. Karin stared out the window at the blue sky and white clouds, her eyes wandering. At the Kusanin's voice, her gaze finally focused, but her heart remained blank. Oh, she muttered, then lowered her foot from the bed and bent over to put on her shoes. But the Kusanin outside couldn't wait any longer. Without waiting for her to put on her shoes, he rushed in, grabbed her arm, and roughly pulled her out. Thump, thump. Her tender, white feet, still shoeless, raced along the dusty and rubble-strewn corridors and stairs. Several pebbles pierced her soles, sending ripples of pain through her. But she remained silent, her face expressionless, as if completely oblivious to the pain. Within seconds, she was pulled in front of Amin, who lay on a stretcher. He then rolled up her sleeves, revealing her arm, covered in teeth marks. Amin, hurry up, bite it, and you'll be fine. He pressed her arm to his mouth, anxiously saying, Amin, he's already half conscious, but suddenly regained consciousness upon hearing this. He opened his mouth and bit Karin's arm fiercely. Immediately, the wound on his abdomen healed with visible speed, and the color returned to his face. Huh? Alive. Half a minute later, he opened his mouth and sat up as if nothing had happened. Amin, you're really lucky, ha ha ha. Seeing his wound heal, the Kusanin around him burst into laughter. No one cared about Karin, who had saved Amin. Even Amin, the one being saved, acted the same way, as if Karin's rescue was a matter of course. Karin silently withdrew her hand and lowered her sleeve back down to cover her arm, which was causing her discomfort. Then she turned and tried to go upstairs to her room. "Hey, Karin, why are you in such a hurry to go up? There are still many injured people back there." Seeing her want to go back, a Kusanin shouted. They had only sent Amin, the most seriously injured, back for treatment. There were still many ninjas with less serious injuries who needed Karin's care. Oh, Karin, who had been about to return to her room to put on her shoes, stopped and rubbed her feet together to remove the gravel embedded in her soles. Then she sat down on the stairs and waited quietly. "Kakashi-sensei, haven't we arrived yet?" Naruto asked Kakashi, looking at the still endless forest. We should be almost there," Kakashi replied, taking in the surroundings. It had been 3 or 4 days since they had said goodbye to Sakura. For these days, there had been no towns in their direction, so they had been sleeping rough. Only recently, after observing their surroundings and comparing them with a map, Kakashi realized they had left the land of fire and entered the land of grass. There was a small town in their direction, so they decided to stop there to rest and sample the local delicacies. Kakashi is right, we're almost there. There's a lot of human aura about a kilometer ahead, Goku confirmed. I wonder if there's anything delicious here. He smacked his lips, his eyes flashing with all the delicious delicacies he'd seen before. Yosh. How about we speed up? The more he thought about it, the hungrier he felt. He clapped his hands and made a suggestion to everyone. Sure thing. Goku-sensei, Naruto was the first to respond. Okay, Goku, yeah, Kakashi and Sasuke followed suit. And then, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 4 figures sped up, whizzing through the forest like the wind. Chirp. Moo. The birds and beasts in the forest heard movement around them, but couldn't see anything. They looked up in confusion, letting out bewildered cries. An unknown amount of time passed before they saw 4 dark figures rushing out of the forest, then stopping simultaneously. Hey, we're here. Before them lay a bustling small town. At that moment, in the town. Finally. We can heal this damn wound right away, haha, me too. It's all thanks to the leader finding this mother and daughter back then that we can quickly recover from our injuries and chakra. It's a pity that woman accidentally died some time ago, otherwise we'd be even more carefree now. A dozen injured Kusanin walked the street, chatting and laughing as they made their way to Karin's inn. Unlike Amin, who was critically ill earlier, each of them had only suffered minor injuries, which was why they were walking so calmly and composed. After all, their injuries would be healed soon. In front of the inn, Karin was being pulled out by Kusanin who had noticed their companion's return. The scorching sun shone on her, warming her body, but her heart remained cold. Over the years she had spent in the Kusanin village, she had been bitten countless times, becoming their holy medicine for healing. Each time, she endured excruciating pain, for these people had no regard for their own tenderness and bit down relentlessly. That's why she had so many indelible teeth marks on her body. Haha, Jin, you're so considerate. Seeing their companions bring Karin out to wait for them, a dozen injured Kusanin gave them a thumbs up. No more talk, just focus on recovering. Jin rolled up Karin's sleeves and then raised her arm to signal his companions. Seeing this, his companions all stepped forward with smiles, lining up to recover from their injuries. Karin, like an emotionless puppet, was manipulated by their companions. Meanwhile, from the other side of the street, 4 figures slowly approached. They were Goku and his companions, who had just entered the town. Which restaurant is good? Goku, the leader, glanced around, his nose twitching, trying to find the best place in the area. But then, he suddenly stopped, his gaze fixed in one direction. Have you found it, Goku-sensei? Naruto, following behind, thought he had found the restaurant he was looking for and followed his gaze. But the sight made his pupils shrink. What's this? He saw a dozen Kusanin lined up in his direction, taking turns biting the hand of a girl about his age. Each time they bit, their wounds healed at a visible rate, and their aura rose. Meanwhile, the girl's aura dropped. What are they doing? Naruto was stunned, unable to believe he was witnessing such a scene. Kakashi's gaze narrowed, a wave of confusion forming in his mind. Red hair? Could they be from the Uzumaki clan? Swish. At that moment, Goku vanished. By this time, nearly half of the dozen Kusanin had recovered their wounds and chakra, and Karin's face had begun to pale. Haha, finally my turn. Seeing his companion finished, a Kusanin laughed and stepped forward, grabbing Karin's arm and attempting to bite it. But just then, a figure suddenly appeared beside him, blocking his face with a hand, preventing him from biting. Who is it? The surrounding companions, upon seeing the sudden appearance of this stranger, stepped back, weapons drawn. With a swish, the blocked Kusanin reacted, releasing Karin's hand and retreating as quickly. Suddenly, Karin was left alone with this sudden arrival. This person was none other than Goku. He ignored the retreating Kusanin and grasped Karin's arm, examining it closely. Karin showed no fear at all at his presence, simply observing him expressionlessly, certain this was another person seeking her body. Just as she wondered when this man would bite her hand, a hint of surprise suddenly crossed her expression, which had remained unchanged for so long. Will it hurt? Goku asked her seriously. He asked if it hurt. Karin was bewildered. For all these years, no one had ever asked her that question, save her late mother. That's why, upon hearing Goku's question, her brain froze, unable to form a response. Will it hurt? Goku asked again. This time, a gentle smile crossed his face, as if to comfort the bewildered little girl. Hearing his repeated question, and sensing his deep kindness, Karin finally came to her senses, her nose tingling. It hurts, a simple word, yet filled with an immense amount of grievance and bitterness. Is that so? I see. Goku smiled faintly, gently ruffling her hair. Then, from the palm of his hand gripping Karin's arm, a subtle aura suddenly emerged, gently seeping into her body. What was that? Karin's eyes widened, feeling a surge of warm energy nourishing her body, instantly replenishing the strength she had lost. So warm. Although this energy only nourished her body, somehow, her cold heart suddenly warmed up, making her feel an unprecedented warmth. In the original story, Karin being sent to take the Chunin exam seemed ridiculous. With the people of the Hidden Grass Village, how could they allow such a treasure of the village to flaunt themselves outside? Therefore, in this book, Karin never took the Chunin exams and was imprisoned in the Land of Grass. Let's just assume that Goku's arrival affected history. Chapter 119. Thank you, Master Wukong. It had been too long. She hadn't felt this kind of warmth for so long. Ever since she witnessed her mother being mauled to death so many years ago, her heart had sunk into an icy abyss of despair, never again pierced by sunlight. And so, for so many years, buried deep within, her body felt as if it had lost its soul, numbly subject to the manipulations of these devouring Kusagaki or ninjas. She looked at Goku, words trailing off. She longed to ask who he was and why he was helping her. Deep down, she even harbored the unthinkable thought of asking if he could take her away. But seeing the menacing Kusagaki or ninjas around her, she suppressed those questions and instead said, "Go now, or they'll kill you." The man before her brought her a long-awaited warmth. She didn't want him to be hurt because of her, nor did she dare expect him to do more for her. For her, that last touch of warmth, and its afterglow, was enough to last her for years. HMPH, want to leave? Do you think he can? Hearing that Karin wanted Goku to leave, the surrounding Kusagaki sneered. This man who had appeared out of nowhere had most likely discovered Karin's secrets. How could they let him go? If word of Karin's existence spread, who knows, some powerful enemy might come and abduct her. Would they then be without their walking medical kit? This was something they couldn't tolerate, as they were used to being bitten after a fight. I won't leave. Goku smiled and patted Karin's little head, then looked up, his face grim. You guys, you're truly insane, doing this to a child. I advise you to get out of my sight immediately, and then I'll let you go. The surrounding Kusanin laughed as if they just heard a joke. Ho ha ho ha, I'm dying of laughter. What did this guy say? He said he'd let us go. That's hilarious. Did he think his speed just now could scare us off? Humph, we just weren't paying attention, so you took advantage of us. He's just an overconfident fellow. You better finish him off quickly. My wounds and shoes are still healing. His words were filled with contempt for Goku. There were 3 Jonin in the group, and the rest were strong Chunin. They could easily take on the elite Jonin from the 5 major ninja villages, let alone this man who barely looked like a ninja. Why wouldn't he leave? Seeing that Goku hadn't left and the Kusanagi were about to attack him, Karin's heart raced, her hands tightly gripping the hem of her clothes. Noticing her strangeness, Goku took her hand, baring his brilliant white teeth. Don't worry, nothing will happen. Then, looking at the Kusanagi, he said gravely, I'm asking again, are you really not leaving? He was furious with them, but his inherent kindness forced him to let them go. But his patience had its limits. If they refused to listen, he would have no choice but to teach them a lesson. Stop talking to him. Kill him. None of the Kusanagi listened to his words of advice, not even bothering to talk anymore. They charged at him, weapons drawn. Karin's grip on Goku's hand tightened, and then, as if realizing something, she tried to pull away. But Goku's grip didn't let go. Instead, it tightened. The next moment, bang bang, bang bang, bang bang. Goku stood there, punching and kicking, sending all 5 Kusanagi attacking him flying. Throughout this process, his grip on Karin never loosened. Seeing the Kusanagi being sent flying, Karin froze in shock, her mouth dropping open. Wow. Amazing. What's wrong with this guy? The Kusanagi who hadn't fought back saw this scene, their pupils shrinking. Though they spoke with contempt, they held their opponent in their hearts. Among the ninja who had just attacked were 3 of their strongest Jonin. Yet, they were effortlessly sent flying? They're all unconscious. At that moment, several Kusanagi spotted their comrades lying motionless on the ground. They rushed over to check, only to find that they had all rolled their eyes and passed out after Goku's blow. Damn it. Let's retreat. Knowing they were no match for the man before them, the remaining Kusanagi carried their comrades on their backs and fled. They just left like that? Karin's mouth remained open, staring blankly at the once imposing Kusanagi fleeing, unable to believe they were gone. Don't worry, you're fine. Just then, a young man flashed in front of her, patted her shoulder with a carefree smile. Who are you? Me. My name is Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto. The man who'll be Hokage in the future. What a strange person, she thought to herself. Then she looked at the man who had always been by her side, giving her warmth and strength, and asked, You, what's your name? My name is Son Goku. Goku-sama, thank you. Oh, thank you for saving me. Well, you're welcome. And just call me Goku. It's weird when you call me that. Okay, Goku. So, what's your name? We don't even know it yet, Naruto asked curiously. Goku also looked over curiously. Oh, yes, sorry. My name is Karin. Karin immediately bowed to Goku, mentally cursing herself for forgetting to introduce herself. Karin? Do you have a last name? Kakashi had arrived and asked Karin quietly. Facing the stranger, Karin didn't answer, but instead looked up at Goku. His name is Kakashi, and he's our companion. You can answer without worry, Goku said with a grin. Karin then looked at Kakashi. No, I only have a first name, not a last name, is that so? Kakashi pondered. By the way, where are your shoes? You don't have any shoes. Goku then noticed that Karin's feet were bare and asked with a puzzled look. Karin's fair feet had long since turned gray, but she was unaware of it. Only after Goku's reminder did she remember she had no shoes. Without explaining why, she scurried back to her inn, dusted herself off, put on her shoes, and then scurried out again. Karin, you're from Kusagakure, right? Do you have any family there? Kakashi asked. Karin nodded, then shook her head. My mother died many years ago. Sorry. Kakashi understood, and instead of asking about her father's situation, he asked, then you probably don't want to go back to the village anymore, right? Is there somewhere else you'd like to go? No, Yash. Then come with us, Karin. Naruto grinned, extending a warm invitation to her. Karin didn't answer immediately, but looked at Goku. After seeing Goku nod at her with a smile, she nodded heavily, a smile that hadn't appeared on her face for a long time, yet. Chapter 120 Who is worse off? Chief. Karin's been kidnapped. In the Kusagakure village, the Kusagakure ninjas, chased away by Goku, hurried back to report the situation to their leader, Churu. What are you doing? I trusted you and let Karin go with you, and this is how you repay me. Churu, a sinister middle-aged man with a hooked nose, darkened upon hearing this news, his face sullen, as if water could drip from it. He had never imagined that, without her by his side, Karin would be kidnapped. His heart ached. To him, Karin was a human elixir. Whether it was restoring chakra or healing a serious injury, a single bite could accomplish the task. Such a treasure was the apple of his eye, and he could never accept the thought of it being torn away. Who stole Karin? Iwagakure, Omegakure, or Konoha? Their grass country was surrounded by only 4 nations, the fire country and the earth country, 2 of the 5 great nations, and the smaller nations of Omegakure and Tokigakure. Needless to say, the ninjas of Tokigakure and Tokigakure had always lived in seclusion, rarely venturing out. So, The only possible culprits for Karin's capture were ninjas from the other 3 nations. I don't know. They weren't wearing forward protectors, and they weren't dressed like ninjas. One of his men shook his head. I did notice something, another added. Oh? What? Churu narrowed his eyes. I was fleeing. During my strategic departure, I spotted 3 Konoha ninjas watching nearby, but I can't confirm if they were part of the group that kidnapped Karin. Is there such a thing? Churu pondered. While Konoha was a suspect, his suspicions were far less than those of Iwagakure and Omegakure. This was because they had established good diplomatic relations with Konoha. But now it seems that whether this diplomatic relationship is healthy or not is still debatable. Go. Call Wu Wei. We can't lose Karin at all costs. Yes, what? Those people actually did such a ruthless thing. In a restaurant, after hearing Karin recount her experiences over the years, Naruto was so angry that he wanted to slam the table. Fortunately, Kakashi, sitting next to him, quickly intervened, preventing the table from falling apart and the food from being ruined. Sorry, Kakashi-sensei. After calming down, Naruto realized he had almost made a mistake and quickly apologized to Kakashi. He wasn't usually this easily emotional, but Karin's experience reminded him of his own childhood. He had thought his childhood was miserable enough. Without parents or friends, he was alone all day, relying on pranks to attract attention. But Karin's was even worse. Although she had her mother by her side as a child, she witnessed her mother's painful death. Moreover, she was constantly imprisoned, unable to move freely. Even more terrifying, she was constantly bitten and drained of her strength. It could be said that she had been living in dire straits since childhood, far more miserable than someone like him who only lacked care and was ignored. It's okay, I understand. Kakashi smiled faintly, then thought to himself, so, Karin must be a surviving member of the Uzumaki clan. Her mother didn't tell her, perhaps to protect her, or perhaps she didn't know her own identity. From his understanding, only members of the Uzumaki clan, who were born with a strong vitality, possessed such abilities. The fact that she had red hair only confirmed this. However, while he was certain of this, he didn't speak it out loud because there was another Uzumaki present, Naruto. If he heard the word Uzumaki, he would undoubtedly associate it with Naruto, based on his surname, and then his past life story would become difficult to conceal. And Kakashi wasn't ready to reveal his past life story just yet. HMPH, those guys are lucky they ran fast. If I'd known this was going to happen, I would have beaten them to pulp, Naruto said angrily. Because Goku had attacked first, they hadn't advanced. Now that he thought about it, he should have given them a few good beatings. Thank you, Naruto. Hearing him defend her, Karin smiled, deeply touched. Don't worry, they'll definitely come back again, Kakashi chuckled. That fool. How could they let someone so important be taken away? They might even be on their way, is that so? That's just what I want. What about you, Sasuke? Naruto rubbed his hands together, his expression excited. HMPH, don't underestimate them. They're a ninja village after all. There are bound to be enemies there that we can't defeat. Sasuke was clearly much calmer than Naruto, and was speechless at his other man's blind enthusiasm. Hey, we still have Goku-sensei and Kakashi-sensei here. With them around, we can just leave those enemies we can't defeat to them. Naruto, now showing his EQ, brought Kakashi along. Why don't you just go and leave me alone? The leader and some of the other people in the village are very powerful, much more powerful than those we had previously, because Goku had so easily driven off the enemies, and she was so caught up in the joy of her new life, Karin hadn't considered whether the Kusagakure village would come after her. But when Kakashi brought this up, she suddenly realized the problem and began to panic again, fearing that Goku and the others would be harmed because of her. What are you talking about? You're our partner, how could we possibly abandon you? Do you think we're that kind of people? Naruto, still daydreaming about how to inflict a crushing blow, felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured on him by Karin's words. His face furrowed in anger. No, I didn't mean that. I just, Karin waved her hands, wanting to explain but not knowing how. At this moment, a big warm hand was placed on her head, causing her to stop. Goku, who had been feasting on his food, stopped eating at some point, looked at her and smiled slightly. You don't have to worry about anything, they can't beat me, but, Karin wanted to say something. Here, this chicken leg is for you, eat well. Goku picked up a big chicken leg from the table, and then handed it to her and said, looking at the chicken leg, Karin pursed her lips and fell silent. Then she smiled as if she figured something out, then took the chicken leg and started eating it in big mouthfuls, and never mentioned letting Goku and the others go first. Not long after, Goku and the others ate and drank their fill, and then stayed in a hotel in the town. After all, they came to this town to rest for a few days, and even if there were enemies coming, it would not prevent them from staying here. Chapter 121 Night Attack. That night, the moon was bright and the stars were sparse. Its cool light shone across the earth, even into Karin's room. On her bed, Karin lay face up, her eyes fixed on the ceiling, clearly still awake. "Mom, I seem to have found some great companions," she imagined a beautiful woman on the ceiling, gently gazing at her. It was her long-deceased mother. With sparkling eyes, she murmured to the hazy figure, "Mom, I will definitely live well. You can rest assured." For years, she had contemplated suicide, but whenever the thought arose, her mother's image would always appear before her, smiling gently at her, as if telling her to live well. That's how she had managed to persevere through her mother's passing. But from today, she felt she could finally let go of those thoughts. She was no longer alone, but had companions who cared and protected her. As if hearing her words, the woman smiled softly at her, then vanished into countless points of light. She too smiled at the sight, closing her eyes and preparing to fall asleep. But at that moment, whoosh whoosh whoosh, two uninvited guests suddenly leaped in from the window. One of them, seeing only Karin in the room, curled his lips. "She's really alone here." The other, without further ado, saw Karin open her eyes and discover them. He quickly scurried over to the bed and reached out to cover her mouth. Just then, bang! The person suddenly felt a powerful force against his neck. Before he could even think, his vision went black and he lost consciousness. "Goku!" Karin exclaimed in surprise as a figure suddenly appeared behind him. Yes, it was Goku. Since Karin was a woman, she lived alone. But Naruto and the others weren't worried, because Goku could teleport. If he sensed a strange presence approaching Karin, he would teleport, just as he was doing now. You? The other attacker was startled by the sudden appearance of Goku, and then stuttered in fear at the sight of his companion's limp body. That was their leader, Crane. He'd been knocked unconscious like that. With that thought, he no longer cared about kidnapping Karin or rescuing his leader. He leaped out the window and tried to escape. Huh? Crane in hand, Goku scratched his face speechlessly as he saw the man flee. He'd been thinking of throwing his weapon to the man and warning him not to come again, but he'd simply abandoned his companions and walked away. Bang! Naruto burst through the door, followed by Kakashi and Sasuke. "Those damned guys are here," Naruto shouted excitedly upon entering. Seeing Karin safe, he leaped out the window again. "I'm going after that guy." He'd sensed someone had escaped. How could he do that? Now that we're here, there's no rush to go back. Let Naruto give him a good beating first. "Hey! You!" Kakashi hadn't even finished his words when Naruto leapt out the window and disappeared, leaving him helplessly holding his head. This kid, why is he so impulsive? Doesn't he know the principle of not chasing a disparate enemy? Besides, there might not be just two of them. What if there are others? Would that be a disadvantage? "I'll go too," Sasuke suddenly said, and without waiting for Kakashi's reply, he leaped out the window and chased after them. Like Naruto, he was looking for a fight too. Haha. "It's okay, Kakashi, we'll be there soon." Seeing Kakashi's speechless face, Goku smiled. "Hey, Goku." Kakashi shook his head helplessly. He knew that Goku would teleport over and everything would go smoothly. With Goku around, Naruto and Sasuke would be safe. But what if Goku wasn't around anymore, and there was no one to back them up? With their impulsive personalities, they could easily fall into the enemy's trap and suffer a heavy loss. A figure scurried frantically down the street, as if pursued by a terrifying beast. Whoosh! 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 Damn it! How on earth did that guy appear? He even managed to knock the leader unconscious in an instant. Ryoji was panicking, completely bewildered by how things had unfolded. Earlier, they had rushed to the town and, upon investigation, discovered that Karin was still there, much to their delight. However, they refrained from acting rashly. Instead, they conducted a more thorough investigation, discovering that the person who had abducted Karin was indeed in league with the three Konoha ninjas. After analyzing the intelligence and considering all the details, the leader, Churu, made a decision: he would kill them all. The reason was simple: if Karin fell into their hands, they would surely learn her secret, and he would never allow it to be revealed. So, whether he recaptured Korin or not, he had to silence these people. Otherwise, once word reached Konoha, with its strength, they might secretly attack them. To this end, he ordered one of his men to go back and call for help, concentrating their forces to ambush and swiftly eliminate the group in an uninhabited forest outside town, ensuring Konoha would not learn of the situation. So how could he accomplish this? Churu decided to personally ambush Karin while she was alone in a room at night. As he left, he would make a noise to alert the Konoha ninja. Would he then lure them into a trap? No, not really. He set the trap on the route back to Konoha. He believed the Konoha ninja would believe his noise was a deliberate attempt to lure them into pursuit. The Konoha ninja, realizing this, would not pursue him but would immediately return to Konoha and inform their cage. This way, the ninja would think he was on the second floor, but was actually on the third, effectively trapping them. They would then swiftly eliminate the enemy and obliterate all traces. Even if Konoha came afterward, they could deny their knowledge of the incident. However, their plan failed at the very first step. Leader Churu not only failed to recapture Karin but was also knocked unconscious. This left Ryoji, his accompanying subordinate, distraught and unsure of what to do. At this point, the only option left is to seek out Master Wu Wei. Ryoji gritted his teeth and made a mental decision. As he fled, he instinctively headed for their ambush site, a place where he felt safe. There were not only many of his companions but also Master Wu Wei, the commander of this ambush, a figure as powerful as the leader. If anyone could give instructions now, it was this person. Just as he was fleeing the town, nearing the ambush site, whoosh! A figure suddenly passed him and blocked his path. "You're really fast, you kept me chasing you for so long." It was Naruto. After he leaped out the window, Ryoji's aura had long since passed his range, so he could only pursue him based on his final flight direction. Fortunately, he was able to sense his aura again after a while, allowing him to successfully intercept him. "You?" Ryoji stopped in his tracks, his face filled with uncertainty. He'd wondered if he'd catch up. But he hadn't expected it to be a child. After a moment's hesitation, a fierce look crossed his face. Now that things had come to this, he didn't care if he was a child or not. He'd kill him, nay, capture him. He could be used to trade for the leader. Thinking of this, he didn't waste any more time and immediately formed a hand seal, water style, water dragon bullet jutsu. As a village known for studying foreign ninjutsu, they had secretly learned many of them. He, for example, had mastered the water dragon bullet jutsu from the hidden mist. Roar! The water dragon appeared, lashing out at Naruto with its claws and fangs bared. Just in time, Naruto was not afraid, but delighted. He had chased after him precisely to fight, and his opponent's decisiveness was just what he wanted. With a swish, he dodged, then lunged at his opponent. "Take my punch." Bang! He delivered a powerful straight punch to the opponent's raised, crossed arms, sending him stumbling backward. This was the strength of a child? Ryoji, receiving the blow, was stunned. Feeling the numbing sensation in his arm, he realized he had underestimated the opponent. He was no ordinary child. Meanwhile, Naruto's second attack arrived, a whip kick with a sharp, piercing sound, piercing his waist. Bang! This time, his defense was even more tenuous. Though he caught the blow with his arm, his body was sent flying uncontrollably. Seeing this opportunity, Naruto certainly wouldn't miss it. With a flash of his body, he was behind the opponent and delivered a powerful punch. Puff! After receiving such a heavy blow, Ryoji immediately spat out a cloud of blood and slammed heavily against the tree. Cough cough cough, he planted his hands on the ground, his eyes bloodshot. How could I possibly lose to a brat? With this thought, he silently unsheathed several shuriken and swung them backwards. Puff puff puff. The shurikens plunged straight into the tree behind him. "Hey, who are you attacking?" a voice suddenly called out from overhead. He looked up suddenly and saw Naruto had somehow reached the branch of the tree in front of him, looking at him calmly. Damn it, he was about to stand up when a sudden gust of wind blew behind him, and then he felt a heavy blow to the neck, and his vision went black and he passed out. "You're really slow, Naruto." Sasuke withdrew his hand, looking at Naruto in the tree with a smile. This time, Naruto surprisingly didn't scold him for stealing his opponent. Instead, he sat down and said with a smile, "I'm leaving you a chance to strike, HMPH, stop talking about that." "You felt it, didn't you?" Sasuke said solemnly after glancing around. Yeah, I did. Naruto's smile faded, his expression becoming serious. He'd sensed something was amiss around him before, it was too quiet. Even at night, there were sounds of nocturnal creatures, but now there was nothing, a stillness that was almost eerie. That's why, in the previous encounter, he hadn't taken his usual slow, tentative approach, but had instead decisively and severely wounded his opponent. That's why he hadn't had any complaints about Sasuke's attack. Suddenly, here they come. Sasuke narrowed his eyes, sensing dozens of ki surges from all directions. Looks like we can have a good fight this time. Naruto, who was a little late to the party, raised an eyebrow and excitedly rubbed his hands. Soon, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Dozens of Kyusanin swarmed around him. In the bright moonlight of the night, they could clearly see Naruto in the center, and Ryuji lying motionless on the ground. Why is there only one kid? Someone called out. No, there's another one. Be careful. A Kyusanin, with sensory skills, detected another stream of chakra overhead and shouted a warning. But his warning was clearly too late. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Suddenly, several brilliant white energy bullets flew out from the dark branches, blasting towards the nearest Kyusanin with lightning speed. Boom, boom, boom. Ah! Dozens of Naruto's shadow clones suddenly appeared, simultaneously gathering energy bullets in their hands. Not good, be careful. Some of the Kyusa ninja who noticed this scene suddenly changed their expressions and quickly formed hand seals. Earth style, earth flow wall, fire style, great fireball jutsu, water style, water dragon bullet jutsu. In an instant, Naruto's shadow clones launched their energy bullets, and the Kyusa ninja's offensive and defensive techniques were deployed, meeting the energy bullets head-on. Boom, boom, boom. As the red, blue, and white attacks collided, countless roars echoed. Simultaneously, many Kyusa ninjas struck by the energy bullets screamed in agony. Damn it! Don't panic. Teams 1 and 2, take care of the enemies above, and the rest of the teams, follow me and kill the little devils below, a commander shouted. Yes, the teams, which had been somewhat disorganized, calmed down and methodically approached the enemies they needed to deal with. Damn brat, I'll kill you. Nearly 20 Kyusanin confronted Naruto and his shadow clones, engaging them in combat. Bang! 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 While the shadow clones were all quite powerful, the Kyusanin village had deployed its elite troops to annihilate them. Of the Kyusanin attacking Naruto, there were as many as 5 Jonin, and the rest were mostly elite Chunin, each possessing exceptional strength. Therefore, after defeating 3 or 4 of them, the shadow clones were blasted apart and vanished. Phew. These guys are truly formidable. After his shadow clones were dispersed, Naruto leaped away from the 3 Jonin and breathed a sigh of relief. While these 3 Jonin were weaker than those from the 5 major villages, they were still Jonin after all. Even after his explosive power, his strength rivaled that of a Jonin. Against 3 opponents of equal caliber, holding his own was practically a limit. As for using Kamehameha to dispatch the enemy, if he could hit them, he'd most likely be able to take them down in one go. But the problem is, there's more than one enemy. Even if he has a lot of chi, he wouldn't be able to withstand multiple Kamehameha attacks in a row. By then, he'd be incapacitated by the excessive chi consumption before he'd even finish dispatching all the enemies. How could that be possible? I don't know if it's because I've been having so much trouble lately, but while I was typing, I felt a sharp pain between my eyebrows, and it took a while for it to heal. Chapter 122. A real man can be flexible. Swish. Just as Naruto escaped the fray, a figure suddenly loomed behind him. That's all you've dealt with, Naruto? A cold, teasing voice echoed. Tisk, Sasuke, you've barely even finished yet, Naruto grumbled. It was Sasuke. He had hidden himself in the trees before the enemy arrived, preparing for a surprise attack. The reason Naruto wasn't the one doing the attack was because he possessed a pair of Sharingans. While both could sense the enemy's movements through ki, Sasuke could also observe their specific situation through his Sharingans, making him the perfect target for a surprise attack. And he succeeded. With the exception of 1 or 2 who swiftly dodged, the others struck by his ki bombs were practically incapacitated. After that, the enemy sent nearly 10 ninjas to engage him, but Sasuke, taking advantage of the relative darkness in the trees, fought them off, defeating 5 of them in the process. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. As they exchanged words, their enemies gathered around, fierce expressions on their faces. Little brats, we have to admit your strength exceeds our imagination, but that's enough. Why waste time talking to them? Just kill them." Just as a hot-tempered Kusanin prepared to attack, a voice called from behind, "Wait." Despite his reluctance, the Kusanin paused. Snap, snap, snap. A tall, stern man approached behind him, and the Kusanin present greeted him respectfully. "Master Wu Wei." Wu Wei was the leader of this ambush, a formidable ninja on par with their village leader, and they held him in high esteem. After several Kusanin made way for him, Wu Wei strolled to within 5 meters of Naruto and Sasuke, staring blankly at them. "Where are your companions?" He had led his team in this ambush not only to deal with the 2 brats, but also with 2 adults. To him, those 2 were the most important people on this trip, but now they were nowhere to be found. Furthermore, Ryaoji's presence here puzzled him. According to the original plan, after retrieving Karin, Ryaoji should have left with their leader, Churu, in a different direction, rather than alerting the enemy. But now, he glanced at Ryaoji, who was still lying unconscious from the earlier battle. Knowing he wouldn't be able to wake him anytime soon, he could only ask the 2 brats before him. "Where's Karin?" As long as he knew who was holding Karin, he could roughly deduce Churu's current situation. "Karin?" "Guess." Naruto grinned, as if he wouldn't tell you. Wu Wei's heart sank upon seeing this. If Churu had successfully recaptured Karin, the boy before him wouldn't have had this expression. In other words, Churu had failed. And he was likely entangled and engaged in a battle with the other 2 they had set up in ambush. That was why Ryaoji had come here, to deliver a message, urging them to send reinforcements quickly. In an instant, Wu Wei took in everything that had happened and made a decisive decision: capture the 2 brats immediately and rush to the town to support the leader. With this thought, he raised his hand, and red chakra quickly emerged from it. Fire style, heavenly prison, whoosh. Several flaming chains burst forth from his palm, then shot towards Naruto and Sasuke with lightning speed. The surrounding Kusagakure ninjas all looked on in amusement as this move unfolded. These brats are truly honored to have Master Wu Wei personally attack them, HMPH, after being hit by Master Wu Wei's move. These brats will have no choice but to surrender. They believe that no one could counter this move, as it prevented the victim from concentrating chakra to cast ninjutsu. Any attempt to forcefully use chakra would result in a blazing inferno. Furthermore, those caught too far from the caster would be incinerated by the flames. If Naruto and Sasuke were hit by this attack, they would be their captives. Whoosh! Facing these dangerous flaming chains, Naruto and Sasuke didn't hesitate, dodging them with a quick, sideways movement. But the chains, as if equipped with tracking devices, reversed course and continued their pursuit. "What the hell is this?" Feeling the blazing heat behind him, Naruto, without a second thought, concentrated his energy and blasted it towards the flaming chains. But the chains, like living creatures, twisted and dodged him, then followed him closely, determined not to stop until they hit him. Earth escape, earth flow wall. At that moment, several Kusa ninjas in front of him suddenly formed hand seals, creating several meters high earth walls that blocked his path. "Tisk, you think you can stop me with that?" Naruto sneered inwardly, kicking off with a kick and effortlessly leaping into the air. But at that moment, his expression changed. Wu Wei suddenly appeared above him, the flaming chains in his palms hurling themselves at him like a vast net. Damn it, he'd been so busy dodging the flaming chains, and the sheer number of people gathered here made it difficult for him to keep a close eye on his opponent's chi, so he hadn't noticed the opponent's unnoticed movement. Now, he was rising in midair, while the opponent's attack was descending rapidly. Even if he had tried to use the air dance technique to fly away, it was too late. Just as he raised his hand to gather a key bullet, attempting a final struggle, swish! A figure suddenly appeared before him, and with a single wave of his hand, it dispersed the incoming flaming chains. "Goku-sensei," Naruto exclaimed in surprise, his eyes widening. It was none other than the belated Goku. After scattering the flaming chains, Goku turned and looked at him. "Naruto, you're looking a bit flustered." There was no teasing in his tone, but rather a statement of fact. Naruto blushed and stammered, well, he wanted to say it was because there were too many enemies, but the words wouldn't come out. He had run into it head first, so no one else was to blame. Seeing this, Goku smiled faintly, knowing his goal had been achieved. How could he not have thought of what Kakashi had thought about Naruto and the others being too impulsive? He had actually already been near the battlefield, but he had been lowering the pressure so Naruto and the others couldn't sense it. He had then been silently watching the fight from the shadows. It wasn't until Naruto was in danger that he appeared to help. This way, the enemy would realize their own problem. Meanwhile, the flame chains chasing Sasuke dissipated, without Wu Wei's support, allowing Sasuke to escape. These things are really tough. Sasuke stopped, his eyes darkening. Like Naruto, he tried to deflect the attack, but to no avail. If Wu Wei hadn't attacked Naruto first, he would probably be in just as much trouble as Naruto. Now, seeing Goku appear and avert Naruto's crisis, and after addressing him with these words, the ever-smart man immediately realized something. We were a little too impulsive this time. We shouldn't have been so eager to catch up. If it weren't for Goku-sensei, Naruto and I would be. His expression darkened even further at the thought of what would happen to him and Naruto without Goku. This gloom wasn't directed at others, but at himself. He hadn't anticipated how his rapid increase in power, coupled with his sudden belief that Goku was their backup, had led him to act impulsively in the face of his enemy, failing to carefully consider the consequences and nearly putting himself in danger. Who are you? At this moment, Wu Wei, startled by Goku's sudden appearance, snapped back to reality and stared at him intently. Master Wu Wei, he's the one who kidnapped Karin. Before Goku could reply, a Kusagaki or ninja, who had seen Goku during the day, shouted. It's him. Wu Wei's eyes narrowed, understanding dawning. The other guy should be fighting Churu. He hadn't spotted any Konoha ninjas around who were suspected to be Kakashi's copycats, and since Churu, their leader, hadn't appeared either, he assumed the two were still fighting in the town. The man before him must have been worried about the two brats, so he'd come chasing them. With this thought, he felt certain. If they could capture the man and the brats here, and then return to support Churu, their plan would be largely accomplished. However, this guy looked formidable. He recalled Goku's scattering of the flaming chains with his hands, and a sense of worry settled in his heart. He had never seen anyone so easily break his attack. His thoughts raced, and he immediately prepared to order his men to join him in the attack. But just as he was about to speak, Goku spoke up. Hey, why aren't you listening? I just let you off in the daytime, and now you're back again in the evening. He looked at the familiar faces among the Kusen ninjas. You stole our people, who else should we go after if not you? One of them grumbled, his eyes twitching. Oh, you mean Karin? Goku scratched his face, then said with a grin, she's no longer one of yours. She wants to leave with us. Silence, an endless silence. Upon hearing this, the Kusenin couldn't believe the audacity of the man before them. What do you mean by Karin wanting to leave with you? It's clearly you who are attracted to her abilities and want to take her away by force. They didn't consider Goku's words to be the truth. For those who prioritize profit over everything else, sentimentality is simply not a consideration. Stop talking to him. Follow my orders. Sonata, follow me and capture this guy. The rest of you, capture those two brats. Wu Wei, knowing time was running out and not wanting to hear any more of Goku's nonsense, immediately gave the order. After receiving the order, he attacked Goku first. Fire style, heavenly prison fire sword. A surge of fire chakra erupted from his palm, quickly transforming into the shape of a sword. Anyone struck by it would be consumed by the blazing flames. Whoosh! He thrust the flaming sword straight at Goku. Goku stood still, unmoved, and seized the sword as it reached him. How dare you seize it? How presumptuous! Seeing this, Wu Wei felt joy instead of surprise, as he imagined the next moment the flames from the flaming sword would engulf Goku and consume him. However, the joy on his face vanished, replaced by disbelief. With a crackle, Goku effortlessly crushed the flaming sword, his body untouched by the flames. How could this be possible? A torrent of emotion surged within Wu Wei, wondering how he had managed it. Just as he was lost in shock, Wukong flashed and instantly appeared beside the Kusenin who were attacking him. He raised his sword and brought it down. Bang, bang, bang. Accompanied by the sound of heavy objects crashing to the ground, the Kusenin's eyes rolled back and they fell unconscious. Immediately afterwards, Wukong's eyes flickered and he reappeared beside the Kusenin who were attacking Naruto and Sasuke. He repeated his previous move, knocking them unconscious as well. In an instant, over 20 bodies lay on the ground. Naruto and Sasuke, who had been struggling to hold on under the enemy's siege, breathed a sigh of relief at the sight. They also realized more clearly the recklessness of their actions. At this moment, Wu Wei finally regained his composure, but was stunned again by the sight. His men were defeated in such an instant? Was this even humanly possible? Even the cage of the 5 great ninja villages couldn't pull off such a feat. At that moment, he finally realized they'd picked the wrong enemy. This kind of iron plate, no, steel plate, wasn't something a mere ninja village could possibly withstand. It seemed a leader, Churu, wasn't in town battling the Konoha ninja, but had long been defeated by the man before him. He'd ridiculously assumed Ryoji was sent by Churu to deliver a message, but now that he thought about it, Ryoji must have been frightened and running for help. Bang! I give up, I surrender. Wu Wei's legs buckled, and he immediately knelt. He had to kneel. Even if the enemy had only stunned them, what if they changed their minds? As the saying goes, as long as the Green Mountains remain, there's life. A true man can bend and stretch. For the sake of his life, what harm would it hurt to kneel? The next day, the sun was shining brightly, the sky clear. This is delicious. On the street, Wu Kuan took a 3-colored dango made of glutinous rice and crushed peanuts, devoured it in one gulp, raised an eyebrow, and exclaimed in amazement. Beside them, Naruto, Karin, and Kakashi were also devouring their treats, their faces lit with delight. This was a unique flavor unique to the land of grass, quite different from that of their village, which was why they bought it to try. Sasuke, are you really not going to eat it? Goku licked his lips, still unsatisfied, and asked, looking at Sasuke, who looked out of place beside them. No, I don't like sweets. Okay, then, boss, give me another one. Goku-sensei, I want one too. Me too. Goku, Naruto and Karin raised their hands. This feels so good. As she raised her hands, Karin, watching all this, suddenly understood the true beauty of the wonderful life her mother had once described to her. Thank you, Goku, and everyone else, she muttered to herself. At this moment, in a cave outside the town, is that it? He asked with resignation. What else? Do you think we can save our lives next time? Wu Wei said expressionlessly. He was still terrified by Wu Kuang's unfathomable strength. He would never agree to anything he said if he wanted to cause trouble again. And if Rukazuru still had such thoughts? Thinking of this, a cold light flashed in the depths of his eyes. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123: A Chance Encounter in the Land of Earth. On the hills behind Konoha, bang, bang, bang. Snap, snap. 2 figures, one green and one white, clashed fiercely at speeds unimaginable. Super whirlwind kick. The green figure suddenly transformed into a green tornado, sweeping towards the white figure with immense force. Swoosh. The white figure leaped into the air, then gathered a key bullet in his hand and blasted it into the eye of the whirlwind. Boom. With a resounding explosion, the tornado dissipated, revealing Rock Lee within, his clothes slightly torn but his body unharmed. Not bad, Niji, you've managed to break my move. He gave the white figure before him, Niji, a thumbs up. HMPH, how could I fail at the same move so many times? Niji's lips curled, evidently pleased. Ever since Goku and the others left Konoha, Rock Lee had come to spar with him daily. During their time together, Rock Lee had developed a kick technique called the Super Whirlwind Kick, leaving him feeling rather embarrassed. So he painstakingly studied, finally finding a way to break this move. Then I'll keep creating new moves, ones you can't break. Rock Lee wasn't the least bit discouraged by his own move being broken. Instead, his fighting spirit soared. Because his move had been broken, it meant he still had room for improvement. How could that not make him happy? I wonder where Goku-sensei and Naruto are now. When they get back, we'll definitely surprise them. At this moment, Goku and his companions, far away in the land of grass, having officially entered the land of Earth, were walking through a desolate landscape dotted with rocky cliffs. Whoosh! Due to the open terrain and near absence of vegetation, the wind blew recklessly like a wild horse, whipping up clouds of sand and gravel towards them. This environment here is awful, Naruto complained, pulling the brim of his windbreaker down to keep the sand out of his eyes. The Earth country's environment is like this. It's mostly rocky and mountainous, forming a natural fortress, making it difficult for outsiders to penetrate, the narrator, Kakashi, rejoined. If only there were an RV here. Even Goku, a formidable figure, lowered the brim of his hat to shield himself from the wind and sand. Looking at the scene before him, he couldn't help but recall the time when he and Bulma, as children, passed by the area where Yantra lived while searching for the Dragon Balls. He'd been staying in Bulma's, or perhaps Oolong's, RV back then. He couldn't recall the details. Anyway, it was because of that RV that their initial trip was so comfortable. But then, when it was destroyed, their journey became miserable. What's an RV, Goku-sensei? Naruto looked curiously, and so did the others. They'd occasionally hear something Goku hadn't heard before, and each time, they'd ask curiously. Huh? Oh. Goku scratched his head in confusion, feeling the question touched on a gap in his knowledge. It's a car this big, with space for us to eat, sleep, shower, and so on. He gestured with his hands in front of him. Car? Is it a carriage? That was all Naruto could think of. No, it's a car. What's a car? Well, I don't know how to explain it. Ha ha ha. Goku gave an awkward laugh. If only Bulma were here, he thought to himself. With Bulma's knowledge, she could explain the answers to the questions step by step, from easy to difficult, without being left speechless like him. Naruto didn't ask any more questions, because he could see that Goku was having a hard time explaining things, as he had done many times before. If only we could go to where Goku-sensei is, he muttered to himself. Everyone fell silent, pushing forward against the wind and sand. After an unspecified amount of time, the wind gradually died down, and they no longer had to duck their heads to avoid being hit in the face by the sand and gravel. Boom! At that moment, there was a sudden noise far ahead of them, like something exploding. What's that? Everyone looked, but saw nothing. So Goku used his aura to sense it. There's two people's aura over there, probably fighting. Someone's fighting. Naruto's excitement perked up at this, and he longed to go over and investigate. But after some self-reflection, he'd managed to control his impulse and wouldn't rush over so rashly again. Want to go over and take a look? He asked, looking at the two teachers. When encountering something like this, of course we avoid it to avoid getting into trouble, Kakashi replied, a seemingly straightforward response. Let's go and take a look. It's on our way anyway, Goku replied, a fearless response born of absolute strength. Kakashi twitched his lips, wanting to refuse. But then, remembering that this was Goku's trip, and he was just a follower, what right did he have to influence his thoughts? He kept quiet. Seeing that he didn't refuse Goku's suggestion, Naruto smiled. Yoshi. Then let's go check it out. He then turned to Karin and said, Karin, you better stay with us. Although Karin had also learned ki from Goku, she hadn't trained much in years. While she possessed a considerable amount of ki due to her physical condition, its strength was low, arguably even weaker than Sakura's before she began training. Yet, I'll stay with Goku-sensei, Karin said crisply. After training with Goku, she began addressing him the same way as Naruto and the others. At that moment, hundreds of meters away, two figures were engaged in a fierce battle. Explosion style, Thunder Fist, one of the spiky-haired men launched a straight punch at his opponent. Bang! His opponent dodged the blow, and his fist slammed into the rock wall with a resounding explosion like a bomb. When he withdrew his hand, a hole several meters wide, blasted into the rock wall, was clearly visible. Hey, this is the legendary explosive release. What a powerful Kekkei Genkai. His opponent, a white-haired man in an oversized turtleneck, saw this scene with greed in his eyes. Carry of Iwagakure, I'll take your Kekkei Genkai. The spiky-haired man, Karari, the Jounin of Iwagakure, had a gloomy expression upon hearing his words. Who the hell are you? He was about to return to the village after completing his mission when the man suddenly stopped him, saying he wanted to see his Kekkei Genkai. He had initially disregarded such a strange person, but seeing he wouldn't show his skills, the man attacked him, forcing him to engage. However, by now, he had discovered that his vaunted explosive release was completely ineffective. The reason was simple, the opponent was too fast for him to reach. Hey, my name is Hiruko, the white-haired man, with no intention of concealing his identity, readily stated his name. Hiruko? Sho narrowed his eyes, searching frantically in his mind, but found no information about this person. Enough of the idle chatter. Why don't you just surrender and become my nourishment? When I become immortal and invincible and unify the ninja world, you will surely be grateful for what I've done today. Hiruko spread his arms and declared to him with a somewhat frantic look. You're truly a psychopath, Sho's heart sank, silently cursing himself for not checking the almanac before going out. You seem reluctant, so let me tell you what a formidable being you're facing. Do you really think your explosive release will work against me? Even if I don't dodge, you can't hurt me at all. Hiruhu's crimson eyes shone with contempt. HMPH. Arrogance. Seeing his proud ability being disregarded, Sho's rage surged, and he attacked again. Explosive release. Land Thunder Fist. This time, Hiruhu didn't dodge, raising his palm to block the attack. Nether release. Absorbing acupuncture points. 2 blood-red holes suddenly appeared in his palms. As soon as they appeared, they exerted a powerful suction force, sucking in all the chakra concentrated in his fists. What? Sho's pupils suddenly constricted. Before he could react, another wave of chakra, so familiar to him, erupted from his palms. Explosive release. Earth Thunder Fist. Boom. With a bang, Sho flew backward, wounded. Ahem, you? How could you possibly use that? Sho, who had fallen to the ground, struggled through the excruciating pain to get up, his eyes filled with astonishment. This was his Kekkei Genkai. How could the other party possibly replicate it? Hehe, didn't I tell you? I'm a great being. All ninjutsu means nothing to me. Hiryu's lips curled up, a look of pride on his face. This was actually a power he gained through the accidental discovery of the Kita no Mie no Jutsu, combining it with the Kekkei Genkai of others. With this ability, he could absorb all of his enemies' ninjutsu, rendering them ineffective against him. He could even return the absorbed ninjutsu intact, catching them unawares, as Sho had just done. Ahem, damn it, Sho spat out the blood welling in his throat, his face pale. Just now, in an effort to inflict a crushing blow, he had unleashed his landmine fist to its fullest potential. As a result, the backlash from his own attack left him severely wounded, his strength reduced to a mere tenth of what it once was. Was he going to die here today? He stared intently at Haruko before him. Then, his gaze shifted, and he looked away from Haruko, looking behind him. Haruko, as if sensing something, turned his head and glanced behind him. Suddenly, several figures appeared on a nearby rock face. They were Goku and the others, who had rushed in after hearing the commotion. Huh? Is the fight over? Naruto sighed in disappointment at the scene before him. He'd rushed here excitedly, expecting a thrilling battle, only to have it end so quickly. It seems so, Kakashi replied casually, his gaze fixed on Haruko, his mind racing. Why does this person look familiar? It wasn't surprising. Haruko was once a Konoha ninja and a close friend of the Sannin, though he had later defected. His appearance had changed somewhat due to his training in the Kirei no Megumi technique, and his attire meant he could only see half of his face, so he couldn't recognize him. But unlike him, Haruko recognized him instantly. It's Kakashi? Is the heavens helping me? He was overcome with emotion. After years of studying the Kirei no Megumi technique, he had long since discovered that it required the integration of 5 Kekkei Genkai to complete. He had already fused 3 Kekkei Genkai, Swift Release, Dark Release, and Storm Release. Adding the explosive release possessed by the recently defeated Kari, he now possessed the 4th. Now came the important part. He had long set his sights on the 5th Kekkei Genkai, the immensely powerful Sharingan. He firmly believed that by gathering all 5, he would overcome his inherent limitations and become an unrivaled superpower in the ninja world. Then, even the 3 ninjas of Konoha would bow before him. I was originally agonizing over how to attack Kakashi, but to my surprise, the goal presented itself to me. Because the Uchiha clan had been exterminated years before, he had long been obsessed with finding the Sharingan. Later, he stumbled upon the fact that Konoha's Hatake Kakashi had inherited Uchiha Obito's Sharingan, and he immediately set his sights on him. Although there are others besides Kakashi, they're just 3 brats and one who doesn't look like a ninja. They won't affect me. After taking in the enemy's lineup, he was certain. This was the perfect time for him to gather his Kekkei Genkai and cultivate the supreme technique. Hey, there's something wrong with the way this guy looks at us, Naruto frowned. Indeed, and he exudes a very sinister aura. Sasuke narrowed his eyes. Konoha ninjas over there, I'm Kari from Iwagakure. Could you please save me? Kari shouted towards them. Although Iwagakure and Konoha weren't on good terms, he had no other choice but to ask for help. Save you? Is he going to kill you? Goku asked curiously, scratching his head. Yes, Kari shouted back, unsure why it was this non-ninja looking man who answered. That's no problem, Goku said with a smile. But even after hearing his promise, Kari wasn't reassured. In his eyes, only Kakashi, who was beside him, had the power to save him. Just then, Hiruko finally spoke. "Hey, you're really arrogant, but never mind, you're all going to die here, so I'll let you show off your power of words. We're all going to die here?" As soon as these words left his mouth, Naruto flexed his fist, cracking his joints. You really have ill intentions towards us? In that case, let me take on you." With that, he leaped from the rock face, came to a point just in front of Hiruko, raised his hand and hooked his finger. "How about we have a fight?" I've seen readers mentioning a Naruto Sasuke fusion, but there are two prerequisites for this to happen. One is that Goku has a reason to teach it. In the original story, if it weren't for the great crisis on Earth, Goku wouldn't have thought of teaching Goten and Trunks this move. Having solved the first problem, there's also the second, Sasuke's reason to want to learn it. With Sasuke's personality, he definitely wouldn't learn it unless there was a compelling reason, just like Vegeta. Therefore, the author has not thought of these two reasons at present. If you have thought of them, you might as well tell us. If you haven't thought of them, the fusion of Naruto and Sasuke probably won't happen. Chapter 124, The Powerful Air Kune. Hoo-oh-hoo-oh, a gentle breeze rustled across the barren wasteland, strewn with jagged rocks and craggy cliffs, bringing a touch of solitude to the lifeless landscape. But at that moment, this silence was shattered by a sinister laugh. "Hey, what an arrogant and ignorant brat. I haven't seen your kind in ages. During the Ninja World War, brats like you were the fastest to perish." A sneer shone in Hiruhu's crimson eyes. "So, will you fight me?" Naruto simply repeated. "In that case, you'll pay for your arrogance." Hiruhu wasted no time, ready to swiftly dispatch the brat before him and then capture Kakashi. Whoosh! His body jerked, launching him towards Naruto like an arrow from a bow. He didn't use any ninjutsu, instead grasping a kunai, ready to finish Naruto off with physical skill. However, just as he reached Naruto and attempted to smear his neck with a kunai, he vanished in a flash. What? His face paled, and without a second thought, he unleashed a swift escape. Swoosh! Just as he dodged, a short leg, carrying immense force, slashed down from above, slamming into the ground. Bang! Crackling. With a resounding crash, a crater several meters wide appeared in the ground, accompanied by countless spreading cracks. What? Hiruhu, who had dodged, blinked at the sight. How could this brat possess such immense strength? Could it be that his master was Tsunade? "It seems I underestimated you, brat, but this isn't enough." After a brief moment of shock, his expression regained composure. It was just a little more powerful. Now, even Tsunade wouldn't be a match for him, let alone this brat. Really? Then let's see. Naruto curled his lips, then kicked off with his feet, actively attacking Hiruhu. Mington, absorbing hole. Seeing Naruto's attack, Hiruhu raised his arm and aimed the absorbing hole in his palm at the opponent. Immediately, a strong wind blew out of the hole, sweeping towards the opponent. This was the absorbing hole's second ability. Once hit by this wind, he could remotely absorb the victim's chakra, which was extremely insidious. What's this? As the saying goes, better safe than sorry. Naruto, who was attacking him, didn't feel the power of the wind, but he still dodged it sideways. Oh? Did you dodge it? Hiruhu didn't care that Naruto dodged his attack, because he was just trying it out. Hitting was best, but missing was no big deal. After all, he didn't need that little chakra. Whoosh! At this moment, Naruto, having dodged, attacked him again. His eyes flashed, and he quickly formed hand seals. Storm release, thundercloud cavity wave, wow! As the last seal was completed, a thick black cumulonimbus cloud suddenly appeared around him. Furthermore, within the cloud, flashes of blue-white lightning flashed intermittently. From a distance, he looked like the god of thunder, a formidable presence. What's this move? Naruto paused his attack, warily gazing at the cumulonimbus and lightning surrounding Hiruhu. Try it and you'll find out. With a thought, he also quickly formed hand seals, multiple shadow clone technique. Bang, bang, bang. 5 or 6 of Naruto's shadow clones instantly appeared, screaming and charging at Hiruhu. Take my punch, watch out. The clones threw straight punches, rose up to deliver flying kicks, leaped up to strike from the air, or swooped in from behind for a sneak attack. And at that moment, boom! The lightning within the cumulonimbus suddenly unleashed. striking the surrounding shadow clones at a speed too fast for the naked eye to detect. Wah! This time, he wasn't trying to condense a ki bullet, but the ki kyune he just successfully attempted. 2 seconds later, an exquisitely crafted ki kyune, seemingly radiating a sharp, cold light, appeared in his hand. Hey, don't use ninjutsu on that guy. He can absorb other ninjutsu and then reflect it back at you. Seeing this from a distance, Kari, though unsure of what this strange ninjutsu was, immediately shouted a warning. HMPH. You're such a mouthful. A cold glint flashed in Hiruhu's eyes. He had allowed Naruto to condense the ki kyune because he wanted to surprise him, but he hadn't expected Kari to foil it. Absorbing other ninjutsu? And even reflecting it back? Naruto raised an eyebrow in surprise. This guy had too many moves. But his ki kyune wasn't made of chakra. Surely the opponent wouldn't be able to absorb his attack? Thinking of this, he stopped hesitating and held his arm horizontally in front of him at a 90-degree angle, palm facing downward, with a ki kyune pressed against his palm. He then thrust his forearm forward and swung it outwards. Whoosh! The air kyune instantly transformed into a shadow, soaring towards Hiruhu at a speed unimaginable to the naked eye. Its speed far surpassed that of the air bullet. How fast? Hiruhu, secretly delighted that Naruto had ignored his advice and foolishly continued to use his ninjutsu on him, suddenly saw the air kyune's speed and his pupils constricted. However, he remained unfazed, for his acupuncture points had been waiting for a long time. He placed his palm in front of him, ready to absorb its chakra as the air kyune reached him. But the next moment, with a sizzling sound, the air kyune pierced his palm directly, then quickly pierced his shoulder. Then, continuing at breakneck speed, it plunged straight into the rock wall behind him. With a resounding explosion, a deep, unfathomable hole appeared in the rock wall. Damn it! How is this possible? Hiruhu stood frozen in place, as if frozen in place. He couldn't understand why his acupuncture points had stopped working. Damn it! A few seconds later, the pain in his body brought him back to his senses. He ignored the 2 bleeding wounds and stared at Naruto. Damn it, kid, what's that move? You're asking that? Honestly, I haven't decided what to call it yet. Naruto scratched his face and smiled awkwardly. The simplest name would be the air kyune, direct and clear. But he felt that it was a bit uncool, a bit unfair to its power. Goku, Kakashi, and the others couldn't come up with a good name either, so the name was left unresolved. Hiruhu's eye twitched, but he didn't dwell on the question any further. Feeling his injuries, he knew that if he continued like this, he would probably be in trouble. But he wasn't willing to let him back down just yet. Such a godsend opportunity, how could he miss it? A fierce look flashed in his eyes at this thought. Given this, he had no choice but to unleash that terrifying creature. With it, no one present could escape. His palms were bleeding profusely, so he didn't bother biting his fingertips. He simply slammed them to the ground. Summoning technique, bang! A puff of white smoke followed, and a hideously hideous monster, tens of meters tall, appeared out of nowhere. What is this? The moment the monster appeared, both Naruto, who was standing face to face, and Goku and the others, who were watching from a distance, were filled with astonishment. The monster had a dog-like head, but with a spiral horn atop it. Its back had wings, but its body was mostly bone. Even more bizarre, it had a forked tail, tipped with 2 snake heads, there was gaping and swaying continuously. It was like a bizarre monster, a fusion of a dog, a bird, and a snake. Roar! The monster roared to the heavens upon its appearance, as if announcing its arrival. Then, under Hiruko's control, it raised its massive claws and slammed down on Naruto. Boom! With a resounding bang, a terrifying crater appeared in the ground, but Naruto was nowhere to be found. Take this, big guy! Naruto leaped into the air, rapidly gathering ki bullets in his hands, and then bombarded the monster with them. Boom! 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 In an instant, a barrage of ki bullets blasted directly into the monster's face, exploding into the air. However, Naruto's face showed no joy, as he hadn't sensed any decrease in the monster's ki. Sure enough, when the black smoke cleared from the monster's face, it was completely unscathed. It's not that simple. Watching this, Naruto's eyes narrowed, and he prepared to gather his ki kyune. He didn't believe the monster before him could block his attack. But the monster seemed to sense his intention and, without giving him time to concentrate, raised its claws and slashed at him again. Boom! After dodging the attack, Naruto watched the ki dissipate from his hand, his heart sinking. Although he had successfully concentrated his ki kyune, this move was a delicate one and couldn't withstand even the slightest interruption. With his current control, he couldn't concentrate and execute it while dodging quickly. In other words, he had to find a way to protect himself from the monster's interruptions. His mind raced, and he instantly came up with an idea. But before he could make a move, the monster's next attack arrived. Boom! As he dodged the monster's claws once again, a red ball of energy quickly formed from its mouth. Immediately afterwards, it whizzed towards him. Boom! As the energy ball landed on the ground, a deafening explosion echoed. Several invisible waves of air erupted from the impact point, rapidly sweeping outward. Simultaneously, a shower of rubble erupted, shooting in all directions like bullets. In an instant, tiny holes appeared in the surrounding rock walls. Goku and the others watching the battle were also affected by the impact. Ha! Goku roared, and a white aura emanated from his body, enveloping Karin, Sasuke, and Kakashi. The incoming rebel was then blocked by the white aura, unable to advance. Huh? Karin, who had been frightened to pale face, breathed a sigh of relief when she saw the rebel being blocked. She had almost thought she was going to be hit by the rebel. Fortunately, Goku was there. Thank you, Goku-sensei, she thanked him first, then glanced toward the smoke-shrouded battlefield, a look of worry on her face. Is Naruto okay? Even the aftermath was so powerful, let alone the very center of the attack, it would have been a terrifying sight. So, what would have happened to Naruto if he'd been hit head-on? Don't worry, he's fine, Goku smiled, then looked up. It wasn't just him, Sasuke and Kakashi were also in the same mood. Seeing this, Karin was somewhat bewildered, and she, bewildered, followed suit. At that moment, hundreds of meters in the air, Naruto wiped the sweat from his face and breathed a sigh of relief, still tingling with fear. Phew. That was a close call. I almost died. The power of the monster's energy ball was truly terrifying. If he had been hit head-on, he would have been dead. Fortunately, at the critical moment, he unleashed an ultimate burst of energy, leaping up at a speed too fast for the naked eye to detect, narrowly avoiding the attack. As for why he didn't use Kamehameha, to counter the attack, it was because he was too close to the monster, and the energy ball was coming at him at lightning speed, leaving him no time to gather it. Furthermore, he reasoned that his normal Kamehameha would not be enough to withstand this attack, and that he would need to gather more energy to counter it, which would take even longer. Now, let's see if the Air Kunai can defeat it. If not, I can use the Kamehameha, again. Looking down at the monster below, unaware of his leap, he made a quick decision. Then, while freely falling, he gathered the Air Kunai in his hand. Meanwhile, on the ground, Hiruhu, hiding behind the monster, gazed at the billowing smoke, his lips curling wildly. Hey, finally got rid of that brat. It's his honor to die with this move. He didn't think Naruto could withstand such a terrifying attack. In his mind, Naruto would have been reduced to the smallest speck of dust by now. Next, it's time to take down Kakashi. He glanced back at Goku and the others behind him, and this glance made him pause. What are they looking at? By this time, Naruto had descended to nearly the height of the monster's head. Then, his gaze fixed, and just as he reached the center of the monster's head, he launched his kunai with a fierce thrust. With lightning speed, the kunai shot straight into the monster's open, bloody mouth. Immediately, there was a sound of puzzle. Swish, the kunai, like an unstoppable, peerless weapon, pierced the monster's body through its mouth, then, with unstoppable force, burst through the monster's tail and flew into the distance. Roar! After being hit so hard, the monster immediately let out a mournful roar, and then its limbs went limp and it fell to its knees. What? Noticing this change, Hiruzen quickly turned around and stared at Naruto, who fell to the ground. Kid, how could you still be alive? Ahem. Actually, the author couldn't think of any cool names, so it's time to use everyone's ingenuity. All the knowledgeable, smart, literary and naming masters, please write the names you think are good in the comments. I'll use the one with the most likes, the serious name, of course. If there is no such thing, then it's called Kikunai. TT. Chapter 125, Confrontation. Hiruhu's face was filled with disbelief. How had Naruto survived such a powerful attack? And he looked unscathed, not even a speck of dust. Even if the Sannin were here, they couldn't have pulled off such a feat. Roar! At that moment, The crouching monster growled, and Haruhi realized that Naruto had just fallen from the air. So, Naruto had dodged the attack by leaping into the air? That didn't make sense. How could a normal person jump that high? This kid is truly bizarre. He found himself completely baffled by Naruto. Not only was his strength incredibly immense, his moves incredibly bizarre, but he could even jump so high. He had no idea how such a freak could exist in Konoha. Hey, use whatever skills you have, or you'll lose, Naruto shouted, one hand on his hip, one pointing at him. The monster had been defeated by his Kyuubi, so he must have no more tricks up his sleeve. Naruto thought to himself. Hearing his arrogant words, Haruhi chuckled softly, a mocking smile curling his lips. Do you think you can defeat it like this? As soon as he finished speaking, the monster's wounds began to heal rapidly. Within seconds, roar, the monster stood up again, roaring with full force to the heavens. Its aura, which had plummeted before, now returned to its peak. What? Naruto's eyes narrowed, a look of disbelief on his face. This giant possessed such a terrifying recovery ability? While his Kyuubi was small and the wound inflicted was minor, he had at least penetrated the creature from front to back, and even penetrated through the vulnerable throat, which had caused it to collapse immediately. Unexpectedly, it was able to recover now. This is a bit of a problem, he said with a look of worry on his face. The monster's powerful recovery ability meant that his Kamehameha would have difficulty inflicting fatal damage. Unless I condense a Kamehameha wave of ultimate power, obliterating most of its body, then it won't be able to heal. His mind raced, and he instantly came to this conclusion. However, to successfully pull this off, he needed a certain amount of time, and he couldn't be disturbed during that time, otherwise his efforts would be in vain. Wow! Just as he was thinking, the monster attacked him again, waving its massive claws and slamming down with immense force. Boom! Multiple shadow clone jutsu. After instantly dodging the attack, Naruto quickly formed hand seals, and hundreds of his shadow clones suddenly appeared around him. Charge! Kill it! The clones roared, charging at the monster, while he, the original, silently and rapidly retreated. That's right. He intended to use the shadow clones to distract the monster, then secretly condense his ultimate Kamehameha wave and deliver the fatal blow. However, something he hadn't expected happened. Just as his original form retreated to a distant spot, preparing to condense his Kamehameha wave, he discovered that his shadow clones had been instantly blasted apart by the monster. Flashing back a few seconds, as he saw hundreds of Naruto's shadow clones charging towards him, a red light flashed in the monster's eyes. Immediately afterwards, gray-green feathers from its wings shed, shooting straight at Naruto's clones like sharp arrows. The clones, believing it was just a simple physical attack, ignored it, drawing their Kyuubi to cleave them away. But as they made contact with the feathers, they suddenly exploded like bombs. The force was so immense that they were completely annihilated. How could this guy have such a move? This is troublesome. Naruto felt a headache as he watched the monster, which had just destroyed its clones, charge towards him. The monster's wings were so densely packed with feathers that even if he created more clones, they would be quickly annihilated. The speed of those feathers made dodging difficult, unless he concentrated his ki to collide with the enemy. However, this would consume too much ki, hindering his ability to concentrate his ultimate Kamehameha wave. Just then, a series of sharp, piercing sounds suddenly rang out from the distance. Then, boom, boom, boom. Plumes of black smoke suddenly rose from the monster. Hey, you ugly creature, your opponent is me. Sasuke landed on the field, concentrated another ki bomb in his hand, and blasted it at the monster that turned its head toward him. Naruto, hurry up and use it. I'm dying to see how much damage your Kamehameha wave can inflict on this creature. As he blasted his ki bomb at the monster, he glanced at Naruto, who was also looking at him from a distance, and thought to himself. As a spectator and someone who knew Naruto well, he naturally guessed Naruto's intentions and recognized his predicament. He decided to help Naruto by drawing the monster's attention and giving it a chance to concentrate its Kamehameha wave. Tisk, smartass. Seeing Sasuke's attack, Naruto instantly understood his opponent's intentions. While he was reluctant to have his battle interfered with, he also knew he truly needed help. So, after muttering something under his breath, he immediately began to move his hands, placing them at his waist in a calyx shape, preparing to condense his ultimate Kamehameha wave. Roar! The monster, upon noticing the little bug harassing it from behind, immediately turned and charged towards Sasuke. HMPH, you fool, you fell for it so easily. Sasuke curled his lips and calmly launched a few more energy blasts before quickly dodging to the other side. Roar! After being blasted in the face several more times, the monster erupted in fury. While these things couldn't hurt it, it was a provocation, a blatant insult. It shed some of its wing feathers again, blasting towards Sasuke like a barrage of small missiles. Boom, 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 boom. A barrage of feathers bombarded Sasuke, who dodged and dodged, or used key bullets to deflect them, managing to avoid even a scratch on his clothes. Damn it, this brat is so tough. Watching this scene from a distance, Hiru's eyes twitched. He wondered why all the brats he'd encountered today were such freaks. With this thought, he glanced at Karin on the rock face. Could this little girl also be a freak? Fortunately, after observing Karin for a moment, his expression and posture confirmed the possibility. Even so, his heart remained pounding. Besides these two brats, there was also the equally powerful Kakashi, who had yet to make his move. Could he hope to defeat these three with just this one monster? For the first time, he began to doubt his ability to defeat them. And just then, a sudden, inexplicable palpitation gripped his heart, as if some terrible horror were about to strike. What is this? As if realizing something, he quickly turned his head to look into the distance, his pupils shrinking. In the distance, a blue ball of light rested quietly between Naruto's hands. Though it appeared harmless, a terrifying energy surged within. To compare it to a long-dormant volcano, magma surging within, poised for a deafening eruption. Damn it! What does this brat want? At that moment, the monster attacking Sasuke seemed to sense the danger and turned to look over. Roar! Sensing the source of danger emanating from Naruto, it squeezed its remaining energy, gathering another ball of red energy in its mouth. At that moment, Naruto, whose concentrated power had reached its limit, thrust his hand forward. Watch my Kamehameha wave, whoosh! A blue ball of light, expanding to a meter wide, with a trailing, meteor-like shape, shot fiercely towards the monster. Roar! The monster, draining all its energy, expelled the energy ball from its mouth, crashing headfirst into the blue ball of light. Boom! When the red and blue energy balls collided, a deafening explosion erupted from the field. Accompanied by countless powerful gusts of wind, rocks flew everywhere and dust rose in the air. Wow, this is powerful, Karin, once again protected by Goku, exclaimed in shock as she watched. She had witnessed the power of the monster's energy ball before, which had blasted a massive crater over 10 meters in diameter into the ground. She was surprised that Naruto's attack could counter it. Could Naruto really be that powerful? That's just the beginning. Meanwhile, Naruto, far away, hadn't heard Karin's words. He grinned as he watched the red energy ball locked in a stalemate with a blue ball. The Kamehameha wave he'd been concentrating for so long couldn't be just this powerful. Boom! With a thud, the blue energy beam he launched from his hand suddenly grew thicker. The next second, the empowered blue ball of light surged again, instantly overwhelming the opposing red ball. Then, with unstoppable force, it propelled the other ball straight into the monster's mouth. Boom! As the two energy balls slammed into the monster's mouth, the impact sent its massive body sliding backwards. Simultaneously, the two energies intertwined, becoming even more violent, wreaking havoc within its mouth. Ouch! The monster let out a wail. The overwhelming energy battered it, its mouth visibly melting. Knowing that even with its immense resilience, it would be dead if it resisted any further, it would be doomed. Within 2 seconds, it released its summoning technique and vanished into white smoke with a bang. Seeing this, Naruto grinned, convinced he had won the battle. But then his expression changed. With the monster's massive bulk gone, the blue ball of light was free to push the red ball forward, unexpectedly heading towards Goku and the others. Damn it! Move! Naruto desperately controlled his Kamehameha, trying to redirect it. But the Kamehameha blast, with all his strength concentrated into it in its current force, only managed to shift its direction slightly. The blue ball of light continued to barrel towards Goku and the others, pushing against the red ball. Well, Naruto, your power control needs improvement, Goku commented calmly upon seeing the oncoming energy ball. Then, with a sudden flash, he arrived in front of the energy ball and, with a swing of his right hand, swatted it into the air like a ball. Boom! As the energy ball soared high into the sky, it could no longer sustain its momentum and exploded with a deafening roar. In an instant, a gust of wind surged through the sky. Scattering several white clouds as the energy surged through them, causing the sunlight to pour down even more intensely. Whoosh! Haruko, who had long sensed the situation was dire, snapped back to his senses and immediately attempted to escape, but Kakashi dodged and stopped him. "If I'm not mistaken, you're Haruko," Kakashi said, his eyes narrowed with conviction. After observing him for so long, he finally recognized the figure before him, half of his face obscured, as Haruko, who had defected from Konoha years ago. He couldn't let him go, no matter what. "HMPH, you've been recognized." Haruko's face darkened, and he silently turned his uninjured hand, aiming the section point at Kakashi. Then, whoosh! A powerful gust of wind blew towards him. His subtle movement clearly didn't escape Kakashi's notice. Although he had no idea what the gust of wind was for, Kakashi dodged it anyway. But just as he dodged, Haruko unleashed a swift escape, instantly appearing behind him and slamming the puppet spell he'd prepared at some point down upon him. Snap! When the puppet spell successfully landed on Kakashi, Haruko's eyes lit up, his heart brimming with joy. "Ho ha, Kakashi, you've really fallen for it. I'm the winner again this time." It's no wonder he was excited. Once the puppet spell was successfully cast upon someone, they became his puppet, subject to his control. And with Kakashi under his spell, he was now his puppet, allowing him to control them in their fight against the two brats. In other words, he had the upper hand once again. "What are you excited about?" Suddenly, a cold voice boomed from above. Haruko, startled, immediately looked up, and the sight caused his expression to change drastically. He saw another Kakashi standing on a rock, his hands in his pockets, his dead eyes staring at him emotionlessly. "Damn it! How could you possibly?" As if realizing something, Haruko glanced down at the Kakashi he'd cast the spell on. Suddenly, with a bang, this Kakashi vanished in a puff of white smoke. "It's a shadow clone." Haruko's hands and feet went cold at the sight, unable to believe he'd been tricked. This meant he had no escape route, forced to fight to the death. But at that very moment, a figure suddenly appeared behind him, completely unaware, still trying to figure out how to escape. A soft bang. His eyes bulged, and he lost consciousness, collapsing to the ground. "Yosh, done." Goku withdrew his hand, grinning at Kakashi. "Thanks, Goku," Kakashi smiled back. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.